1, 2, 3. Boom, we did it. Let's go.
Hello and welcome back to the Lakeshore Video Podcast. I'm your host, George Niksch, and with me today is Max Williams.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me, dude. I appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on.
This is wild. Cannot believe it. Second time being a guest on a podcast.
Never been on a podcast. That's awesome. Other than one. So if you guys didn't know, my podcast is just about like local business owners. And Max is a business owner. He does the same thing I do, video. So Max kind of focuses, I'd say, more on music. That's kind of like your what you're most known for. And we'll let Max get into all of this kind of stuff in a little bit, but I wanted to start this off with like going all the way back. So
oh my gosh,
I'm gonna stop talking to you guys. We're gonna talk to Max here. And so Max, tell me
where I started.
Where did you start? I know that we probably have similar like stories of origin stories, but
villain origin stories.
yeah. But tell me, where, like, go all the way back. Where'd you when you first started? What was the first camera you remember using?
A Canon 60D for sure.
Oh, you knew exactly.
Oh yeah, I got it. I've talked about this once before on my own podcast, but I got a Canon 60D not because I was like super into cameras. It was because there was this tech influencer. I don't know if I ever told you about this, but his name was, he had several different YouTube channels. It was like Ty's Tech, Ty's iPhone Help, Ty's Vlogs. Like his name was Ty Moss. And like, I don't know why, out of all, he's like, remember when unboxing videos were popular? One day, like he would unbox cameras, but then another video he'd unbox like some other tech thing. And out of all things he unboxed, one day I was like, oh, he unboxed a Canon 60D. He's cool. I need that. And I just got it because he had it in my head at the time, like my like piggy bank money or whatever saved up. And I was like, I can get this. And then, it just turned into.
What year was that? Like, how old were you?
Oh, geez. I'd have to go on the internet and look. That was, I mean, at this point, I'd say it was a good. Someone's probably going to watch this and be like, excuse me, that's the wrong day. But like, it had to be at least like 15 years ago, maybe at this point. Like, if not 16.
Yeah.
I think 15 in that range.
Yeah.
But yeah, really weird. I took that and then I think I got it. What I liked about it is like it took good photos, but it also took video. And I was like, I can film like skateboarding on this because I had if I'm not mistaken, I think it had a flip out monitor on it. So I was like, this is great. Like I can film skateboarding effectively.
Yeah.
On this because I can see what I'm filming with a like fisheye setup.
Nice.
With the lens. So then that was why I ended up getting that one.
Nice.
But I think I like knew about VXs and was like getting into VXs around that same time. But yeah.
So you said it was a 60D?
It's a Canon 60D.
Would that be better or worse quality than a VX? Probably better.
That one was.
That was like HD probably?
Yeah, HD. That one was HD. So it was better than the VX.
Wow.
But I also
that's super interesting to me because like for some reason I had it in my head that like the VX was like one of your first cameras or something, or like some sort of mini DV would have been your first camera.
I know,
but
it's a little surprising. Yeah. I think what happened was just the fact that I saw that video, and then I was like, I just thought the guy was cool, so I was like, I want to be cool and get that too.
Like, what grade were you in?
Oh boy, so I'm almost 30 now. So
were you in high school or 8th grade?
It might have been like 8th grade-ish.
Yeah,
7th or 8th.
Dude, that's funny because that's like when I got my first camera. Was like I want to say 8th grade.
And we talk about this a lot, but like just for frame of reference for anyone watching, like having a camera at that point wasn't like it is now. Like I think people hearing this can easily misconstrue it, where they're like, oh, they're just talking about the first camera, but like it was more than that back then. It was like if you had a camera, you were the camera guy.
Yeah.
Like people were not on iPhones, like getting their phone. Like people, in fact, hated filming on anything that was like not a camera. Like so much so that you were the guy, and so that was kind of a big.
Yeah, it's interesting hearing it from your perspective because like, how old are you? You're 29.
29 right now.
29. I'm 30. I'm 36. And so we're both millennials, but for me, like my first camera was a high 8 tape camera. So it was like VHS quality basically.
Yeah.
And like
that's
like I didn't even edit videos personally until like college.
Oh my gosh.
Because like it was too expensive.
Oh my
It was,
gosh.
like to have a computer that was good enough. Like I had a gaming computer that I bought in like 8th grade because I worked at McDonald's, so I saved up enough to buy a computer, but I didn't really even have a way to connect the camera to the computer, so I never edited anything. I used to well, the way how we used to edit is we would connect the camera to a VCR and then hit play on the camera and hit record on the VCR at the same time, and then you hit stop, and then you find the next clip, and then you do the same thing again. And so you could get like a tape, a VHS tape,
Yeah.
of your skate edit,
Yeah.
because like that I come from the same skateboarding.
I didn't get into that.
Skateboarding, yeah, that's kind of why both of us got into like video is
Filming,
skateboarding.
skating,
But yeah, like I remember like Tasso was the first one that had the ability to edit, and that was like in high school, like sometime in high school, maybe like junior year or something. Tasso was able to start editing, and
Oh my
like
gosh.
I remember like just like literally I didn't know another person that had the ability to edit besides Tasso. So Tasso was like the number one skate filmer guy, and like I kind of like I would film, but I wouldn't do any editing. I'd just give it to Tasso and let him edit because I just didn't have the ability to. So it's really cool to hear like just in a short amount of time, 7 years difference. Now your first camera was like digital camera that you can has memory cards and shit like that.
And cameras were still not, even when I got going on mine, it was still like, and even then, 7 years back, that was probably a crazy thing for me to have a camera. And it was
Yeah.
still crazy when I got mine 7 years later.
Yeah.
Can I admit something really embarrassing?
Sure.
So the way I learned to edit was not what I can promise you no one else in this world has learned how to edit like this. Do you remember miniclip.com?
No.
It was a gaming website. There was
Oh,
a
okay.
bunch of RuneScape, Club Penguin, etc. All those games were on there. It was like a big deal, and I was like early middle school era, maybe even before middle school. Dare I even almost say elementary? I was playing Club Penguin. Does that ring a bell for you?
I don't know.
It was a name. Okay, so people that don't know what that is, this is I'm telling you, this is how I learned how to edit. So I was playing Club Penguin, and I would watch Club Penguin YouTube videos of like, I don't know, just like a little kid watching dumb stuff. And I saw someone make like a Club Penguin music video, and it was just like they recorded the screen and would like throw colors on the screen and like put text. It was the most cringe weird thing thinking about it as an older person now. But I saw that, and then I found the penguin like in the server one day because there was like different servers you go into, and I was like, wait, stop. I like saw him, and I like typed him out. You could do like 17 or 18 characters. I was like, tell me how to edit like on Club Penguin.
Really?
And the thing came up, and I remember the thing came up, and he's like, Windows Movie Maker. And I was like, how do you do effect? And he was like, go to screen, hit this, and like
No way.
almost gave me like step-by-step
wow.
instructions. And like to the point where I made my own version of like the videos he was making. And in hindsight, that actually like did teach me like
Wow.
effects. It taught me how to cut, and like I get to the point where I ended up making my own editing tutorials and like got so into it that I ended up getting like Final Cut 7 after that.
Really?
So I was like, this isn't cutting it anymore.
Yeah.
And then I remember my grandpa gave me his old Mac. It was like those tube looking Macs they used to have.
Yeah.
He gave me that, and it had the next version of Final Cut that Macs or maybe even iMovie was some editing software that Apple had. And I was like, oh my god, wait, this may be better than like Final Cut 7. And then it turned out that computer crashed the first edit I tried to make.
No.
And so I was like, god damn it. So then I ended up getting I ended up just rolling with Final Cut 7, and all because that person on Club Penguin taught me how to edit.
That's wild. Club Penguin.
I started making
Never even heard of that. I can't kind of remember.
it's like it was a thing when I was like elementary, middle school
Really?
era. But it's so weird to think about that. But then I end up making tutorials on how to edit, and those got
What was
millions of views.
when you first started like filming? Was YouTube big?
YouTube was, well, okay, when I first started filming skating, a lot of what I learned came from like people at the skate park.
Okay.
And so I wasn't really so much into tutorials. Like I can't remember like watching tutorials, but I do remember like YouTube being a bigger part of my life in a sense of like not looking up like other tutorials really. I was mainly on there to like watch like I don't like Smosh or like silly stuff. That's
Yeah,
like my early
yeah.
formative YouTube memories.
That's what YouTube was when it first came out, was like just goofy videos.
Sped up videos too.
Yeah, yeah.
That was a big thing.
Because like I remember when I was in college, because I went to Ball State from '08 to 2012, and I learned to edit in college in classes, like,
Yeah.
and there wasn't any YouTube videos about this at the time. Like
No.
that wasn't even a thing. And YouTube was literally just goofy videos. Like me and my buddy would make videos with his webcam and just like playing guitar and playing goofy songs and shit.
You could probably upload from that webcam or something.
Yeah, yeah, that's how it was. Yeah, and this was in college, and so we would do like the what is it, Omegle or whatever,
Oh,
where you like
That was huge.
you can see like other people and you just like do goofy
Not
things.
my Omegle. That
Yeah.
got cooked what, like 2 years ago now?
Is it? Oh yeah.
They cooked it.
But people still do those things where they're meeting random people. A lot of musicians still do that, where they play a song for just random people.
Like chat roulette.
Yeah,
stuff
chat
like
roulette.
as well.
Yeah, yeah. But
Yeah.
man, there was a lot of really wild things you would see on Omegle. Like you go
Some M-rated stuff on
go to the next person, it's just some like naked dude sitting there. But you're like, next. But
I remember that.
yeah,
So
that was hilarious.
and a
That
half.
was when what Craigslist was real big too.
Yep. Craigslist, LimeWire, and what was the other? There was another one where you would yank software off of it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Free editing softwares or
Yeah,
free-
I had like CS5.
Pirate Bay.
Pirate Bay, yeah, yeah.
There it is.
I had but I remember it was like 2009 I bought my first MacBook when I was in college, because I was editing on the college's computers, and then I got a MacBook Pro because I was like, I want to be able to edit like at home and stuff too. And that thing it expand that's where like I learned on basically using CS5, Adobe CS5, and it's
Oh my
I
God.
still have that computer, it still has CS5 on it, and that was a pirated version of don't sue me, Adobe. But I was a kid.
That was a thing. That was definitely that was a thing with I think all this that we're talking about right now, I think is just like it goes to show how different things are now. And it's like it's kind of funny that like we both now like do this because in hindsight, I think early on when we were these things we're talking about right now, that wasn't at the forefront of our mind. Like we were not like one day we're gonna do a video business. Like
yeah,
so much so
I thought I was gonna work at a TV station.
yeah. Yeah, like I think back then, even
Which I did for a little.
your time, even at the dare I say the time I started, when you walked around in public and like told people that like you were like thinking you were gonna do a business, like most people would turn a head to you and they'd be like, "Nah, dog, wrong thing. Like you're doing it wrong. You should not do that. That's like the scariest thing. Like nobody will ever make it doing that."
Yeah,
That was the memo.
Yeah, like when I got into it, like just being a freelancer for PBS, that's how I kind of got started. And people would be like, "Okay, but what's your like real job?"
Yeah, I got that too.
Yeah.
I'm like, I want this to be my real job.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
They're like, "Okay, but how are you gonna pay the bills?"
Yeah. And then I had someone one time tell me like, yeah, you'll probably end up being like a garbage man doing that. And it's like, oh my God.
Dude, I got so discouraged like going to college and then graduating and not being able to find a job, because I
Same.
graduated in 2012. The economy was still pretty depressed from '08 crash, and so like there wasn't any jobs doing anything. I couldn't get a job to save my life. I ended up going back to J.C. Penney, which I worked at prior to college, and like during college I couldn't find a job. I tried to work at J.C. Penney in Muncie, but it was such a small store, they didn't want anybody. So I go back to J.C. Penney after college, and I'm like, dude, why did I go to college? I'm still making $7.25 an hour. Like this is ridiculous. I remember asking them for a raise because I was like, I'm not making any money. Like I'm making minimum wage, and they're like, how much do you want? I was like, $8 an hour. And they were like, our managers don't even make $8 an hour. And I was like, oh, great. Well, why am I here? And that, yeah. And then I ended up working at a model airplane factory, sanding the wings. I would just run these pieces of wood through the sander for 12 hours a day. And like literally you would grab a stack of wood on either side and just 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 as the belt sander's running it through. Dude, it was like
manual labor.
Dude, and I made $6.25 doing that. Because actually, that's right. Minimum wage was only $6.25 then. So I was like, why did I go to college? This is so stupid.
I'm gonna tell you something crazy right now, but it does come along with a privilege. I did live with my parents while I had said job, but having said that, my first normal job, if people want to call it that, that I was the only job I had before I did video, was working at a golf course. And you know how much I worked for hourly?
How much?
$3.25 an hour.
Dude, was it a tip based?
I was like a caddy, like the guy that like cleaned up people's clubs and collected the carts.
Is that like a tip based
thing? Oh, wow. And I talk about this very openly, like a lot.
I actually can even get away with that.
Well, okay, so here's the deal. It was like you'd have days where it was like big events and like they'd have like a such senator come in and it'd be this big thing and you'd get these like super rich people that would like tip here and there. So you'd have like days you'd walk out with like 120 in your pocket. Nice. But that wasn't like weekly or monthly. That was like maybe like once every like few months you'd get that. But there'd be like 4 or 5 of us on the ground working. And like okay, this is where it gets like kind of controversial cuz like in my mind I'm like, it's women typically are getting like underpaid. So this was a good opportunity for women to collect their money while they could. If you're a creepy old dude at the golf course and you see me or you see some pretty girl working, who do you think you're going to tip more? Yeah. It's like they're going to get more money. So I remember this day where, to give you a prime example of this, there was this girl that there was like 4 of us and she was the only girl working. And I remember like just a couple of us were talking. We're like, God, it's like nobody's tipping today. What's going on? And I remember looking at her, like her pocket was just like fat. Oh, really? It was like, I think it was like my first day working. She must have had like $200 or something in her pocket. I to this day do not know why she had the kindness in her heart, but she at the end of it just like split it up with all of us. She didn't have to do that. I was like, to this day, I'm like, I don't know what kindness it had. So nice. So nice.
Yeah.
But I quickly learned that wasn't normal.
Maybe she worked at a bar where they would typically do split the tips at
or
bars.
Something like that.
So maybe she just thought that it was supposed to be split. Or she felt bad for you because you got no tips.
And I remember like one of the days working at the golf course, I checked in with like the girl that was like giving out beers on the course. And I looked at her, I'm like, hey, like how much, like that, it was a normal conversation for us to all be like, what's the tips like today, just to get like a check of what's going on. And this girl looks at me and she goes, oh, I got about like $550. And I remember reaching in my pocket and I had like $2 in my pocket. And there were days at the golf course where I would just like show up and it'd be pouring rain. And I remember walking out with like under like $24 in my pocket after an 8-hour shift. With like taxes excluded or all the whatever extra money taken out of it. And I remember going like but I say this because that very feeling of getting paid like that and knowing that wouldn't work for like a life job made me want to like do something that I would actually get paid like more and something that could like hold me down. So I remember that was when I first decided like, all right, I need to do something about this. And just by off chance, because I mentioned skating earlier and going to the skate park, I bumped my mic.
Yeah, that's right.
Just by skating and like early on in college, I remember like not only my family, but like my friends were all like, what are you going to do for a job? Like, what are you going to do? And I, at the time was like here and there before college was just like randomly, because as I mentioned, I was the guy with the camera in Wheaton or in the area or wherever. So people would just call me. I'd film like the little local rappers' music videos, or I'd film like my friend's little thing, or even back then I'd like fix people's computers, like stuff like that would make me more money than.
Yeah.
But in saying that, I remember one day I went to the skate park in college, and one of my friends brought me. This is what he said to me. He's one of my skater friends. He's like, hey, and he filmed skating too. and he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna go to this show at this yoga studio." And I looked at him funny. I was like, "Wait, show and yoga studio? It doesn't make any sense." And he's like, "Yeah, like just come with me." And he brought me, and it was So Far Sounds.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, after that, he brought me to and had me work as his intern
Mm-hmm.
for a while. I met his boss.
So you met him at the skate park?
Yeah, and it's someone I'd been skating with all along.
Oh, nice.
But he kind of showed me the ropes of like filming music.
Mm-hmm.
The first So Far I ever filmed is still on YouTube, and I watch it sometimes, and it's just like this like shaky wide shot.
Oh, yeah.
How could I not keep a tripod shot? It's still.
Damn.
It was just like going all over the place. And he didn't even like. I think because of that, he just didn't trust me with the tighter shot for a while.
Mm.
And then he showed me one day like how to get that shot, and then he was kind of like, "Okay, I trust you." Like,
Yeah.
kind of let me roam a little bit. But yeah, then I did So Far, carried that out for like 8. Geez, I don't even work with them anymore. But it was like 7 years I think I was with them. But through that course of time, someone else was the head of video for a while, and then so I went from intern to being their head of video.
Nice.
And yeah, I was their head of video for the better part of 4 or 5 years or something like that.
Was that after college or during college?
That was during college.
Nice.
That was like my like college internship.
Mm-hmm.
But
Oh, sweet.
that to me was getting paid more than what I was getting paid at the golf course, even though I still did work at the golf course in the on season when I'd go home.
Mm-hmm.
I remember it was like I think I got paid as an intern like $50 for filming or something like that. And then eventually they started to let me edit, and I think it was like $50 if I edited or something. So I'd make like $100.
Oh, wow.
Maybe 125 or
Yeah.
something. And I was like, "Whoa, wait,
Dude, money.
oh my God, wait, this is so much more than the golf course."
Yeah.
So I had like that money now because living with my parents, I was able to save that money up,
Mm-hmm.
and then get more cameras. And then I was like, all of a sudden, it kind of dawned on me that like this music thing was fun,
Yeah.
and took it. There's so much more I could sit here and.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
guess I keep talking.
Yeah. So I kind of my first instances of like figuring out that you can make money doing this stuff, like I majored technically in audio production. My major was telecommunications, but like focused on audio. So I took video classes too, but
Secondary.
they were secondary to the
Wow.
audio. So like my senior project was to like record a band.
Mhm.
And so like I thought I was going to work in a recording studio. Like I thought, oh, I can go get a job at Victory Records or something.
Oh, like that kind of job.
Yeah,
Oh.
like I thought I was going to work at a big recording studio. And no. Nope.
I thought-
If you don't know anybody there, you ain't getting in anywhere at any recording studio or anywhere in the entertainment business. You got to know somebody. But I think that's kind of like that in any business. You might be able to go based on your credentials more for a more technical thing like engineering or something, but for creative arts, like it's all based on your body of work, who you know. If people see your work and they like you, like they'll hire you. But
that was not even said out loud then, though. Those things you kind of almost had to like figure it out, sort of. That was not like nowadays. That part is said out loud, like very openly, like on the internet, like or even saying it now. Like people say that, but the reason I'm bringing that real quick, and I don't mean to cut you off, but the reason I'm asking is because like so how did you said you thought about being an audio engineer or whatever. Was that something that you thought, oh, I could build connections and like go like meet people and get here? Or was that you were on like LinkedIn.com being like, oh, position for it?
Yeah, well, I thought that because I went to like one of the best schools for audio production, that would automatically.
Oh, the school would just.
Yeah, I thought that I'd find somebody who was like, we're looking for someone. Yeah, they did.
Schools trick you.
They made it seem like everybody's getting a job after graduation.
They did.
And no, that's not the case. In fact, I would say like 75% of the people I went to school with are not in this business at all. You know, like
in this business, an audio video business.
Audio video business. Yeah, they're doing coding or something, you know.
School tricks you.
Yeah.
It's seriously, it's nuts. Like, and I remember when I was looking for,
and they even say we have such a high placement rate.
They do.
It's bullshit, dude. It's bullshit.
They're lying through their teeth.
We have a 95% placement rate.
And it's crazy because I got told that very openly to my face, and then I went in and talk to them directly because I was like, okay, the school tells me, so I will talk to said person. And said person was like, okay, I can get you a job at a news station because I was in television in college and I was doing photography in college and photography, because I had done photography in high school as well. I was taking like a ton of photography classes and I was using like a 35 in that. I just got to talk to my old high school class, the other week,
nice.
and tell them about my whole thing. But anyway, I learned 35 there, so I took photography in college, and then I took television. But I remember when I went to the guy, he said, oh, I think I was in film for like a semester or two at first. But when I talked to the guy, he said he was gonna get me a thing for a job in TV, and I remember like he was like, we need to craft your like what's it called, like your cover letter.
Yeah.
And we need to craft your
resume.
Yeah. See, I'm forgetting these words.
Yeah. Because they don't matter anymore.
They don't.
Nobody.
No.
No, I've not had one person ask me for my resume since like college.
Exactly.
I mean, unless you're applying for a job, but like so.
Well, here,
continue your story.
Yeah. So I was looking for our ADHD.
Yeah.
I was looking for a job because what he had told me, what he was going to do, didn't come to fruition. Like nothing happened there. Like I remember I checked back in with him and I was like, okay, I didn't hear back from these people. And he's like, oh, it's okay. Like, you know, you can talk to your teachers and maybe they'll connect you to like this and that. Like, that's why we have teachers that are in the industry here. Like, all that. And I remember talking to my teachers and they were just like looking at me like, oh, I was a clown. They're like, what do you think you're doing? Like, they were like, they talked to me about it, but they weren't like, oh, here you go.
Yeah.
You can have this job, you know? Because if that was the case, they would have a job for every kid in the class.
Yeah.
And so I remember I went home like a week later and I applied. I am so good
Keep
at
hitting that. You're very animated.
My arms. I remember I went home a week later and I went on LinkedIn, the job that society tells you need to go to apply to a job, or what were the other websites? There was like a couple other ones.
Indeed.
Yeah. Indeed. And I remember scrubbing through these jobs and I would search like video jobs. I'm telling you, when I was searching this at that time, that was not even a popular thing. Like,
oh, really? Yeah.
Even when I was searching it up, the ones I did find were like must have expertise in like After Effects, like know the app full around, must be a full-time like graphic designer, must be like full-time like coder plus full, like you had to be like this like man of all trade, jack of all trades sort of thing, which I was like, I remember I like applied to a couple of them, but they were like, oh, you don't have experience in like doing like motion graphics or something.
Yeah.
And I was like, I had very basic motion graphics stuff, but not like the extent to which they wanted you to make like a Ford commercial type of thing.
Yeah.
So like those all denied me. And then I remember I was like, wait, I was like, I've been like a pretty, I don't know, like fair Blackhawks fan throughout the course of the years. And I found one that said Blackhawks photographer. And I remember looking at my mom and she was like, oh, you would love this. And I was like, I think you're right. Like, yeah, I think I would. And so I was like, I applied to that. And that was like my one little inkling of hope that I would get a job off of these sites. I was like, oh, I got this. Like, easy. You know, like go to the thing. I had like I think I even may have upgraded cameras by then, or like was thinking about it. So I was like, I know photography. Like I have all this photography, college and high school. Like, and then I remember like a couple weeks later, I just see the thing. Sorry, you've been denied. We have a better selection version.
Yeah.
Like, you have got to be. And that was what made me be like, dude, what am I doing? I'm wasting all this time just hearing no when I could be just like applying these other skills right now and just do the thing that everyone's telling me is wrong.
Yeah.
Here we are.
So from my experience with that, like, I was applying to everything under the sun, like hundreds of applications, and just getting like I wouldn't even get replies back half the time.
Yeah.
And I'd be excited when they just gave me the deny letter, you know, like just
hell yeah,
at least they saw it. But no, like I remember like I kind of realized pretty early that it was like all about who you know. But my teachers even preached that it was all about who you know. And I was kind of like dumb in college. I didn't network as much as I should have. Like I definitely should have networked way more. And I just kind of like did my classes and then partied and kept to myself. And, you know, I didn't like go out of my way to build connections with like other classmates that
Mm.
were like doing the same thing. Like
That was the time to do it too.
yeah. So I'm an idiot. Like I barely talk to like anybody from I don't I don't think I know anybody that went in any of my programs. Like I'm friends with them on Facebook still, but like a couple of them
Like vague acquaintances.
yeah. Like a couple of them stayed in the business. One of them, she worked at the PBS, um, in the radio side of it, but
Okay.
she's a nurse now. So
It's
didn't pay enough. But like, so I was trying to like even leverage like people that like my mom knew. She's like, oh yeah, I'm old friends with
I
this
went that
person,
road too
and
for a little bit.
her friends uncle is like a big person at NBC or something. I thought that was gonna be my in
Yeah.
because it was like I was the ring bearer in their wedding, and
Oh
like,
yeah.
and so I was like, oh, she'll probably get me in. Nope.
Oh
No,
my
I
God.
couldn't. I mean, like she tried, but it's like you really have to know people to like get in at any of these like major television stations and stuff. And like, so I ended up honestly because I was applying to so many places that
Mhm.
I couldn't keep track of it all,
Mhm.
and I finally get this email like, "Hey, come down for an interview in Indianapolis at WFYI," and I'm like, "Oh hell yeah, dude! This is it! Like this is my big shot." And so I get there, I'm like halfway through the interview, and I wore like a suit and everything, you know,
Oh
like,
my God.
full suit. And halfway through the interview, they're talking about all this marketing stuff, and I'm like, I
I
can I
go to school
interrupt
for
you?
marketing.
I don't really know anything about marketing. That's how I worded it.
Being really honest.
I literally was just like, I mean, I can probably learn, but I don't know anything about marketing. And they were like, "Oh, I thought you were like a marketing major." And I was like, "No, I did like audio and video stuff." And so I'm more on like the production side, and they're like, "Oh, well, hang on one second." They leave the room, and I'm thinking they're just gonna tell me to go home or something. And like a few minutes later, they come back and they're like, "Bob wants to talk to you downstairs in production." And I was like, "Oh shit, this is cool." So I go talk to Bob, and Bob's like, "Yeah, we don't really have any positions open, but we do like do a lot of internships. And I know you're already graduated, so you don't need an internship. But
Yeah.
if you want to work here for free, you can." That's what he told me. And I was like, "Okay, I'll do it." And so
Free.
yeah, so I worked there for free for 3 months, doing. I moved down there. And luckily, I had a friend with a house that let me rent out a room,
Oh my gosh.
and I think I only paid like $200 a month to rent the room, but it was a big house with like 6 bedrooms, so we had like 6 guys living there, and back
I
then,
mean, that's the way to do it back then.
yeah, back then it was like mortgages were cheap and stuff.
Mhm.
But because he owned the house
Oh,
with his like aunt or something,
cool.
um, so like we just had to pay the mortgage, and he was happy. So yeah,
Sweet.
so it was like
Easy.
only $200 a person, and so that was like really nice because it was cheap, and I ended up working 40 hours a week at PBS while also doing 40 hours a week at Amazon as a picker. That was my job title, picker. And so I would push around this U-boat in like just a big cart in the warehouse, and I would have this little scanner thing, and you would look at it, it'd tell you like row I-5 or whatever. And so you would go find the row and go find like the number that
Yeah.
corresponds. And when you found the box, you would go bleep, scan it, and then put it in your cart, and then bleep, scan the
So you had a
cart.
normal person's job.
Yeah. So I would you had to like beat the clock because they had a countdown timer telling you, and
Oh.
if you don't meet your goal, you get fired. Basically,
Oh,
you
shoot.
if you miss it like 2 days in a row or something, you're fired. Something like
Good.
that.
Oh.
And so like I was always racing it, and I was going at 250% of my goal because I have long legs, so I could like walk really fast. And I remember they like talked to me. They're like, "Are you doing okay? Like you're like by far exceeding the goal like past everybody." And they're like making sure that I was all right. Like they're like, "We love it, but like you don't have to go so hard, you know?" And because they told me if you're hitting 100% of your goal, you're walking 12 miles. And I was doing 250%. So that means I was walking like 25 miles
Oh
a
my
day.
God.
And that was so I'm doing 25 miles of walking with a cart and then immediately going from there to PBS to
Yeah.
they'd hand me a camera and say, go film this event. And so I'd be running around at the event filming. So I was like literally doing like 30 miles a day.
Oh
Like
my.
it was insane. Like I lost a bunch of weight too. I went down to like 150 pounds. Right now I weigh 240.
Oh my
So
gosh. You lost a lot of weight doing
yeah,
that.
so I was like super skinny and like I remember being at PBS and they would be like having these big food banquet things and they'd be like, "Do you want to take some food home with you?" and shit like that.
Oh
Cuz
my.
like I was sleeping 3 hours a night cuz I was working 80 hours a week and it was also like a 40-minute commute each way to Amazon.
Oh my.
So I was living in the Fountain Square area in Indianapolis. And so yeah, it was just crazy. But then after like 3 months, um, Amazon would lay you off. So
Oh.
because they didn't want to pay benefits. At 90 days, they legally had to pay benefits, but they
Uh,
could lay you off for like a
oh,
month
so they didn't have to do it.
for a month and then bring you back on. So when they laid me off,
Oh.
I was like, what am I gonna do for money? And so I told PBS, I was the one guy,
Who,
um,
Bob.
the not Bob, but one of my coworkers, was like, dude, you've been working here for 3 months. You need to start asking to get paid. I was like, all right, you're right, because I just got fired from or laid off or
Oh my
whatever from
gosh.
Amazon, and so I asked them, and they paid me $10 an hour, which was I think better than what I was making at Amazon.
I think that it was like better back then
Yeah,
too.
I wanna say I was making, like, $9 an hour at Amazon or something,
Yeah, a
but
little better, notch better.
yeah, so I was like, "Oh, dude, this is awesome, like, I'm making it now, like,
Yeah.
this is what I'm gonna do," and after, like, a month, they're like, "Yeah, we gotta scale back your hours because, like, we have a lot of freelancers that work here, we were just, like, trying to help you out," so they scaled me back to, like, 20 hours and then, like, 15 hours, and then, like, 10 hours, and I'm like, "Oh, shit, like, what am I gonna do here?" And so I ended up going back to Amazon for the holidays because I worked through the summer, they laid me off for a month, and then back through the holidays,
Sure.
and then they laid me off again, and I just wasn't like, when that next year came around, it was, like, February or March or something, I was like I literally ran out of money, and I was applying to jobs everywhere.
You can imagine.
My roommates, worked at, like, a pizza place, and I couldn't get a job at the pizza place. I'd fill out the application, they'd be like, "You're overqualified, we don't want you here."
Oh my
And so,
gosh.
like, I couldn't get a job doing anything else, and, like, Amazon was the only reason I was able to, like, live there, and so, when I ran out of money, I had to borrow, like, $200 or something from my parents to pay the last month of rent,
Oh my gosh.
and then I was like, "Okay, I'm out, like, I'm done,
Yeah.
I'm going back home, I'm moving back in with my parents," and so, I was probably, like, 25 when I
Okay.
moved back in with my parents, and, then I ended up getting a job in a call center, uh, and that was through a temp agency. Like, basically, all of my jobs, after PBS were through a temp agency.
It's
It's like that's the only way to, like, get a job these days, I swear.
I mean,
It's
it
weird.
sounds like from all of that, like it sounds like the thing that like we've had in common too along the way is like this thing of being able to like learn early on how to work like multiple jobs
Mhm.
at once, which I think is good for us now, which like served us well because at like one thing that I was thinking about is like so in that process where I kind of like left off, um I remember my dad wanted me to he wanted me to be like one of his like employees is like a radon drop rate. He does like home inspection, so he was like, "Oh, you could do like radon drops for me, or radon tests." So I went in to take a radon course, like at the state of Illinois. I had to drive like 3 hours south to like take this test after like studying radon and all that, and I got like a 71%, but you had to get like 75 and more to pass it or something. So I didn't pass it. So then that didn't happen. But simultaneously in that same time frame, remember how you started off what you were talking about with saying you didn't have any you weren't good at making connections.
Mhm.
Was the opposite. I did have connections because I would just yap to people during classes.
Oh yeah,
Like, honestly, I think I learned more from talking to my peers than I did the teachers,
yeah.
if I'm being honest. So I was just like yapping during class, and like there was this girl that sat like a table or so, like a, a table or two behind me or whatever, and I was talking to her, and I I think we were just like acquaintances or whatever. And we were just like in doing a similar field, but with like different like minors and stuff like that. And then one day I woke up because I remember it like you like add people on Facebook and it starts to see like, oh, that's what it was. I was in a group on Facebook for my school and I saw her in that group, so I added her as a friend on Facebook. And I remember like a week later or something, I was like, this was like in college, this was like my freshman year of college, I think. She messaged me at like, I'll never forget this, like 6 in the morning. And I opened the message and she was like, "Hey, there's like this commercial that's filming something for food. Do you want to be like a PA on it or something?" And I was just like, I remember I like responded, like I cracked my eyes open. I was like half awake and I was like, "Yeah, sure." And like instantly because I responded and there was like I tell you right now, she asked a bunch of people about it. In fact, I think it might have even been a post that she put up, something to that nature. No matter what it was, I was the first one.
Yeah.
And because I was the first one, she was like, "Cool, I got you." And
Nice.
she like because I knew her from class, she then introduced me to this like she brought me over to this film studio called MK Films in Chicago, and she was like a producer, and so I worked a PA job, which I was like, that PA job was like super PA. Like I was like cleaning the dishes for that
Oh, really?
shoot. I was like, I remember this was the funniest task of them all. They were like, all right, my first like job, which was like MK Films, like a film, very like well renowned like film studio in Chicago. But one of my first like jobs on it, I had to go out to the grocery store and they said, we need you to find a perfectly good orange, like nice and circular. It needs to have
Nice.
no dents or marks or and so I was like that weirdo that was like in the grocery store. People are like, I'll take an orange. And I'm just like, okay, this orange, is it good? Oh,
Magnifying
no, I
glass.
didn't touch that. Okay, this one, like and I'm like sitting there, finally found like a couple good oranges, and they need me to find like a bag of ice and a couple other random things for their commercial they were shooting. And I got back, got them that, and then did a bunch of other random tasks that day that were just like running around cleaning dishes, or I had to like run to a store and grab some like Sharpies for somebody, just random crap. And by the end of that shoot, there was this guy that I remember I was walking upstairs as I was getting ready to clock out, and this guy comes walking over to me. He's like, "Hey, dude," he's like, "tomorrow," he's like, "I'm gonna be honest," he's like, "I'm really tired from working." He's like, "I've got this like other thing going on." He's like, "Would you want to fill in for me?" And he didn't even tell me what it was. He just asked me, and I was like, "Sure." And everybody said, "Sure." He's like, "Oh, so what it is like you're gonna clean out a truck. This film got canceled. You just need to empty a ton of boxes out of this truck."
Yep.
And here I am like going like, and what stuck with me is my mom said something really important to me a long time ago. She was like, sometimes there's stuff you have to do, even if you don't want to. It's probably like a good idea to say yes just to see what happens,
Mhm.
or something to that. And those weren't her exact words, but something to that effect.
Yeah.
And those words like definitely stayed with me. So I was like, okay, I'll just say yeah, and I'll do this
Mhm.
awful sounding task. Mind you, this wasn't just like, oh, you want to do this at 8 o'clock in the morning? No. He said, oh, you got to be there at like 4:30, maybe 5 in the morning.
Jeez.
And so I'm thinking emptying a truck by 5 a.m. Ooh.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I'll do it. I'm not doing anything else. I had so far, but that was what? At the time, we would film like maybe 3 or 4 so fars a week, I think.
Mhm.
But it didn't mean that I was always on each of those shows. I'd maybe be on like one or two sometimes.
Mhm.
Um, so I was like, you know what? I'll do it. And I did that job. I cleaned out the truck. And in the process of cleaning out that truck, this lady walks up to me and she's like, "You did a really good." And that do you see how I'm tying this all back? You were saying like how you were like going really fast with all that stuff and moving quickly. Same thing happened to me where I was like cleaning all these boxes out and like I was like ahead of everybody else
Mhm.
and like getting it done so quickly. And like she pulled me aside after it. She's like, "Hey," she's like, "I work on this show called Shameless. do you want to work on this? And like,
Nice.
I swear on my life, like, yeah, as you know, I'm not a big movie watcher, but I did know about Shameless because of Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought she was like kidding. I was like, my whole thing when she said that, I was like, she's talking about, she's gonna say like shameless, da 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 da, like something that's not actually shameless. I'm just waiting for it. Just say it to me, please. And no, I was wrong. I was dead wrong. She was shameless, and I was like, okay, I'll take that.
Yeah.
So then because that was only a 1-day clean out thing. So then I went and I worked on Shameless. They ended up having me work on Shameless for like the next like 3 or 4 years after
Wow,
that.
that's awesome.
I got to meet like, and this is like, I talk about this a lot, and people always like, what, you worked on Shameless? But I'm like, yeah, I was a PA, but I was I was like in the costume truck.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't like, I was like, so, like one time someone thought I was like the camera operator for Shameless. So I was like, that's really nice, but no. But I was like, no, I just got to,
There's a lot of jobs in this business that aren't so glamorous.
Yeah.
Like it's like the people who are behind the camera are like the top tier people who've been in this business for years.
And they've been meeting people
Yeah.
for 25 years. Yeah, that.
You got to do the grunt work when you're young, you know.
And that job was like, lo and behold, actually kind of fun for me at the time. And like, I got used to the idea of like waking up at like 5 a.m. and like, I'm not even joking you, dude. There were like like shifts or whatever you want to call it, like 12-hour days where I'd have to wake up at like, they want me there at 4 a.m.
Wow.
So I'd have to wake up at like 3 and like just get on the hop and get going. And there were days where like I'd get home and I'd have like 2 hours of sleep and have to get right back. Like I was going from the suburbs, because it would be like during, I think like summer or whenever the Shameless season would be in. But oh my God, it was crazy because I remember like just being a costume PA, doing a job where I had to like basically sift through all the clothes and be like, okay, this is going to Nordstrom, this is going to Macy's, this is going here. Like, oh wait, no, this is like Ian's costume. Okay, this is like William Macy's like shirt for the blue unit when he starts at 12:30, like all this stuff. And I had to like pack it in these particular boxes that were labeled as such. And then like, oh, here's all the returns. And like every now and then they'd have me like take a big box of clothes to like a costume rental unit in Chicago, or big box clothes or Macy's. And I'd have to like go to Macy's and be like, all right, this is the barcode. And then leave it. Can you read me the barcode? Barcode 412399982 like all, and it was just like grunt stuff like that I was doing. And I think I was getting paid, I feel like I always butcher this and get it wrong, but it was more than the golf course. It was, if I'm not mistaken, it was somewhere in that like 8 to 15 an hour sort of range.
Yeah.
So I remember it was like I was getting what I deemed at that time as like a normal paycheck, but that very thing is, to kind of correlate back to again what you were saying, taught me that like, wait a minute, I'm a very capable person. Like I learned how to work on Shameless while I'm doing So Far, but what the one thing that really like I dialed in on at that moment was like Shameless and So Far, even though Shameless took up a lot of my like time, I was like, there's still a gap of which they're not in season. Like, and I wouldn't be working on that. And So Far only happened like, and then all of a sudden, actually, So Far simultaneously kind of like kicked up. I remember I was doing like 3 or 4 shows a week, and sometimes there was like 5 or 6 every now and then. So then that was kind of holding me over. But I was like, wait, there's still like a gap of like no work that I need to like, can't just rely on this golf course's pay. And I lo and behold realized like this other stuff was way more fun than the golf course. So I was like, I need to get out of the golf course, but maintain this thing that I like doing, where there's like what you were saying is like you're doing like multiple jobs and like figure this out. And still, even then, people, I remember there was like not any of my like close friends on Shameless, but I remember just like talking to a couple of people, and they'd like, because obviously I was a new guy on the unit. People were like, who are you? What do you do? And like I remember telling them like, yeah, I think I want to do like freelance video, and like, because they knew I was in college, so like, what do you want to do? And I remember even just some of those random people on there, even like on film sets, would look at me and be like, oh, well, good luck. I know people that didn't work out, but good luck. See what happens. And like, it wasn't like, oh yeah, cool, that's gonna work for you. That was not the attitude. It wasn't like, oh yeah, my grandson does that. He has this, or like, my brother does this. Like that wasn't even the attitude either.
Really.
But there was the people that I was close with were like, oh yeah, I think I know like maybe a photographer in my town, or like but again, the thing that I was like trying to achieve wasn't like It wasn't like the, "Oh, wow, everyone's doing this" kinda attitude
Yeah.
yet, but it was getting there.
Yeah.
It was definitely getting there, and so that was kinda where I was like, I can do multiple jobs. This freelancing kind of is starting to, like, make sense in
Yeah.
my brain a little
Yeah.
bit, so let me try
I
to figure this out.
I think the first time that I realized that it was like freelancing is something that people could do was when I was at PBS because like I said, there's a ton of freelancers and
Mhm.
that PBS is like one of the few that hires freelancers. Most PBSs don't hire freelancers.
Yeah.
They only have people on staff and they all pay next to nothing.
Mhm.
So, it was it was such an awesome, like, exposure for me to, like, see all these other freelancers and just talk to them about, like, what do they how do they make money? How do they make a living and stuff? And,
Yeah.
like, that's when I was like, "Okay, maybe I need to start buying gear." But, I was broke in Indianapolis living there,
Mhm.
but that's when I saw it as, like, "Okay, this video thing might actually be a viable business option and maybe I don't have to actually get a job somewhere. Maybe I can just do the freelance thing and like start my own business."
Yeah.
And I just so happened to have a friend who grew up the next street over, um, Matt Bigelow. Was like he was a photographer, a wedding photographer,
Mhm.
and he was like one of the number one wedding photographers in the area at the time. So
Mhm.
while I was working at PBS, uh, he would sometimes, like, need somebody to help him out on weddings just to hold lights,
Mhm.
and so I just was like, "Yeah, I can do that," because like, he was like, "Yeah, 100 I'll pay you, like, $125 to come hold a light,"
Mhm.
and
You're like,
I
"Sweet."
was like, "Fuck yeah." I literally drove from Indianapolis to Chi up to here by
Yeah.
Chicago to do the shoot and then drove back,
Oh my.
and I didn't tell him that, but
You're
but
local, I swear.
yeah, and on my way up well, I mean, he knew that, like, he thought I was still living the next street over,
Oh,
and
oh.
so, basically, I the first wedding, I ended up being, like, half an hour late, and he almost, like, told me just, like, "Don't even come," and because he actually did say that, he's like, "Man, don't worry about it, like, whatever you're doing is more important," but it was because a fucking semi flipped on I-65, and
Oh.
so I was, like, just stuck in dead tr stop traffic for a while, and so I told him, like, what happened, he's like, "Oh, I didn't know you were coming from Indy," and I was like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, I'm gonna be home for the weekend." Because I didn't wanna tell him that, like, I literally spent $50 in gas to make 120 bucks 'cause, I mean, it didn't sound like it makes sense, but I was like, "Dude, that's still more money than I had before,
Yeah.
and I need to pay my bills," and Amazon laid me off and,
Yeah.
all that shit, but so, like, seeing Matt be successful in the wedding industry
Yeah.
and then working with all these other freelancers in Indianapolis, that's how I kind of, like, realized, "Okay, this is probably a more the route that
Wow.
I should take rather than keep trying to apply to all these places that are not hiring." So
Man.
and I didn't even get my first professional camera, like, that little high 8 tape camera?
Yeah.
That's the only camera I owned until I was 25.
Okay.
So,
Wow.
I bought my first professional camera at 25, when
That's so I don't
it
even remember
was
the age I got
when I
mine.
moved back, when I moved back home with my parents, um, I actually was I would borrow cameras from PBS or borrow cameras from Tasso,
Oh.
and, like, when I first started shooting weddings, I didn't even know like, people didn't really do highlight edits, like, I think I
No.
told you that,
That wasn't even a thing.
but this was,
No.
like, back in, like, 2013, maybe 2014, I was shooting weddings where I would just shoot the ceremony,
Yep, that was a
and that was it,
yep. Yep.
and I would borrow people's cameras, borrow
Yep.
Tasso's camera or borrow the PBS camera to film these weddings, and, I
Yep.
think I maybe charged, like, $500 or probably less than that, probably the first couple were, like, $100 or something,
Yep.
and so,
Yep.
uh I when I finally I finally moved back home with my parents and I got a job in the call center and I was taking the train up. So I would drive from Crown Point to East Chicago. That's a half an hour. Then take the train to Millennium Station, which is, downtown.
Probably another 40, 45 minutes or
It's
something.
another like 50 minutes. So,
Yeah.
and then it's like a 10-minute walk to the place, or actually I would skate. Uh, 10-minute skate to the AT&T building. And that's where I worked in the call center for a loan company that gave out predatory loans, like personal installment loans. But so it was like not fun being on the phones. Like I had to talk people down from suicide and everything because we were the last place that they were getting loans. They'd be $150,000 in debt to like bad loans that they're never going to pay off. And they'd call us and like
you were like a physical therapist, mental
like
mental health therapist.
I had to call people at work and try to get them to pay. And like, and they'd be like, I don't have any money. And they'd be like, dude, sometimes they'd be like, I got fired because you kept calling my job. So now you're never getting paid.
And
it was terrible.
Call centers are awful.
Yeah. And like I ended up getting the payments side, and they would apply on Monday, get funded on Tuesday, and declare bankruptcy on Wednesday. It was that bad. Like it was so crazy that this business model even works.
Oh my God. That is insane.
Yeah. So anyways, I like when I got that job in the call center, it was paying like $12.50 an hour. And I was like, dude, I'm making good money now. Like I can like buy some gear. And so
start getting gear.
I ended up, luckily my parents, we went to the credit union and my parents put up like $3,000 so that I could get a loan that was backed by my parents' money. You know what I mean? So like basically they wouldn't give me the loan any other way
to back it.
Yeah, I didn't have any credit or anything.
Yeah.
And so my parents were like, okay, well, we have $3,000 in our account, like just back the loan with that.
Yeah.
And so I bought the Canon XA20 because that was the camera that they were letting me use at PBS. And I was like, I know this camera is good.
Yeah.
It does just such a wide range of things that it's like,
I've seen you even still use it.
Yeah, I still use it for my YouTube videos. So I bought that plus like a little Sony Lav mic that I still have to this day that I really don't use that often, but sometimes. And then I think I got like a little LED light to go on.
That was one of the first things I got too.
Yeah. Yep. Which now I never put a light on top of the camera. Like it's weird to even do that. It's like a paparazzi look, but back then I was like, this is what you do. You put a light on the camera, maybe get some wheels for your tripod. Wheel it around the dance floor. You used to call them the wedding wheels.
The wedding wheels.
I remember you called me out on that before, and I was like, dude, you're like, not the wedding wheels.
The wedding wheels eventually.
Dude, I kind of like it. I mean, it makes it easy to film because now I'll mount like a bunch of cameras on one tripod on wheels, and then that way I can get a bunch of shots from one spot. But anyways, all this is to say,
no, that was kind of like why you were getting gear.
Yeah, so that's how I got into like the freelance side of it. Is like it's weird to even say like I was just borrowing cameras and doing gigs, like getting paid with like stuff that I didn't even own.
Yeah, that's weird.
But like I didn't even know like how camera rentals worked, but I would literally like sometimes drive to Indy, grab a camera, drive back up, do the shoot, drive back to Indy, you give them the camera back.
All that was worth it back then.
Yeah. Like I would do shoots in Chicago with cameras from Indianapolis.
Yep.
So weird, yeah. So once I got that camera, I was working in the call center, and they like I wanted to get my foot in the door doing video any way I could, and I knew corporate video was a thing because of working at PBS. Because I went on some shoots with some of the other freelancers doing corporate video, and so like we mostly did documentaries and corporate stuff at PBS. But so I convinced the managers. I was like, hey, this company's growing so fast. We have a new class of 50 people every week being trained on the phones, and they don't know any of the managers. So like, and you guys are so stretched so thin, you can't even get to know any of these people. And we were losing people left and right because like is not a fun job.
Yeah.
So I was like, maybe we can like figure out a way to make them feel more welcomed and wanted here by doing like this weekly show. We called it On the Spot, and it was like one of the managers.
You invented your own show there.
Yeah, so it was like a podcast before podcasts were a thing. This was in 2015, so podcasts were not even like a thing then.
No, podcasts didn't even become a thing till like lockdown. Damn.
Yeah. So like I just had the XA20, so we had like one mic. I had a SM57 that I had bought to record audio. I actually did record audio in my parents' basement for a little while, just with one mic. We would record a lot of rap music, so it was like one mic is all you needed. But
yeah,
I was doing freelance work doing that prior to getting into video, but it wasn't consistent.
But that was the mic you had.
But yeah, it was an SM57, just like what we got now. And so I just had that with the cable plugged in, and so she would get on camera and interview him, and she would go like this because we only had one mic. So
it's like the TikTok interview style.
Yeah, basically. But we did it sit down interview style like this, and those two lights I got in the other room there, those were I bought those lights for maybe $200 or something. I don't know how much they were, $250.
You were making a quick couple $100 investments at first.
Yeah, but like I would have to drive my car up because those lights were too big to take on the train because those lights don't collapse.
Yeah, no.
So those big lights, I'd put them in my back seat, and luckily there was a parking lot across the street that was like $20, and I think they might have reimbursed me for the parking, whatever we would film.
Oh my
gosh. They basically just paid me my regular $12.50 an hour or whatever, and I would film and edit on the clock. And I was like, dude, this is awesome. I'm making my own job. Like, I'm making my own position here. And I thought that it was going to keep going, but eventually, like, they put me in IT, and
weird.
And we stopped doing the videos.
Oh, and then you wanted to do your own video after that because of that.
Yeah. Well, so like they kept passing me around to different departments in the company because they knew I wasn't happy. And like when I was on the call, I'm not even gonna lie. When I first worked there, I figured out that you could log into the phone thing and then close the phone app, but it still showed you logged in. But you wouldn't get any phone calls. So like I became pretty good friends with this one girl, Allison, there, and she, like, later on she told me, she's like, man, when you first started working here, I thought you were gonna get fired because you sat in front of me, and I would see you watching YouTube videos all day. And then they even moved my desk to like the aisle so that they could see it, and I still just would watch YouTube videos all day. And I have no idea why they didn't fire me.
Were you watching tutorials or something?
Yeah, camera tutorials. But this was before I was filming for them.
You're like, let me get paid to watch tutorials.
This was like before I was filming for them. I was just like watching camera tutorials all day, and I remember them, like, the manager who was the host of On the Spot, she was like, hey, one day she was like, hey, we can see that you're watching YouTube, like, like you need to be on the phone. So I'm like, I am on the phone. See, it's logged in. And she's like, oh, how come you're not getting any calls? And I'm like, I don't know. And then they just kept passing me around to different departments, and they'd be like, do you want to make 50 cents more an hour? And I'm like, okay. So I go do something else, and I do a really bad job there. Then they pass me to somewhere else.
Right, it was for doing worse.
When I got into like a certain department, they were like, they would grade your calls, and I figured out how to get 100% on the call. So I made a script where literally all you had to do was wait for the person to stop talking, then read the next line on the script. Wait for them to stop talking, then read the next line. You didn't even have to listen to a word they said, and you would score 100% on your call. Just because I figured out the formula, like that, I figured out
the rinse and repeat method.
Yeah, without actually seeing their papers, how they were grading, I just figured out this is what you got to do, because they wanted us to get less than 100% because they wanted to be able to fire people. They don't want to give people raises and shit.
No.
So they got mad at me because I printed off the sheet and gave it to everybody on my team. My whole team is scoring 100% on every call. And then they're like, do you want to go work in quality assurance instead? And so now I'm grading everybody's calls. And
that has that same paper that
yeah, but they're like changing things, and I'm like, should we go tell them? They're like, no, don't tell them. And I'm like, what? You're not gonna tell them how to get 100%? They're like, no, we don't want them to get 100%. I'm like, you guys are crazy. So
because they wanted there to be an odd man out of that group.
yeah.
Probably.
But one of the guys in IT was really interested in video, so he basically would talk to me about video all the time, every time we were filming, and he, I think one day came up to me and was like, hey, you want to work in IT? We have like a junior position available. We'll train you and everything.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. And so I worked in IT for like a year. And while I was filming one of those podcasts or whatever, this guy popped his head in. Andrew. I don't know if you know him, Andrew Meltzner or something.
No.
I can't remember how to say his last name, but he popped his head in and he was like, hey, you do video? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, add me on Facebook. And so I added him on Facebook and he's like, yeah, I do video too. We'll talk later. I didn't talk to him for 5 years. And we'll get back to Andrew later, but just know that he popped his head in one day and that's how I met him. And I never talked to him again for like 5 years.
Oh my God.
And so I ended up, I got into IT and we would run these like town hall things. Like you know, Wolf of Wall Street, where he would like rally everybody up, like, we're not going anywhere. Yeah. Everybody cheers. We would do it like that. Cause you know, it's a like predatory loan thing. Like, so the CEO of the company would get up there and rally the troops and everything and everybody's cheering and stuff.
Oh my God.
Every Friday it was a town hall and we would broadcast this over to, we had like a 2-story, like, thing where everybody could like stand around the edge, like looking down at the lunchroom. That's where he would give his speech. And they would have like beer and all kinds of liquor and stuff. Like it was wild on Fridays at this place. And so we would live stream to the London and LA offices.
Okay.
And I got to run the live stream. And so we had like those Cisco Systems SX80 camera that was like state of the art. Like you can control, it was a PTZ.
So you did Cisco.
Yeah, it's a PTZ camera.
Yeah.
Is what it is. But this was like when they were kind of new, and I remember them telling me it was like a $20,000 camera, and I was like, holy shit, dude! Now it's like
$120.
Yeah, for real, $20 camera now. But I thought it was so cool. Like I was like, dude, this is it. Like I'm running cameras. Like this is like the life. I love this. Like and then like they would have me do all the headshots for everybody at the company.
Oh.
And so like
you learn photo stuff.
And a lot of my job honestly was basically just preparing computers, like crack open a brand new MacBook Pro and then take the panel off and add RAM and all kinds of shit.
Had to do that stuff too.
Yeah, so like we had to like get it ready for the developers of the app. So we had to like
just nerdy stuff.
Yeah, add extra RAM and shit. And so like I would do that and then like a little bit with the servers, but they didn't really have me touch the servers much because I was a low level guy, but sometimes they'd be like, hey, go swap these cables or whatever. But yeah, the company grew too fast and
it seemed like there was a reoccurring theme here throughout this.
It had less than 100 people in the company when I started, like maybe 80 people. Within 2 years, we went up to 1,000 people. And then they laid off half the company. And I'm like, my job's got to be secure because at one point my job was just to go collect computers and shut down their
Yeah, what could you do wrong?
I was the one who like deactivated their Gmail and all their access to everything, revoking access and all that. And so I was like, okay, I must have job security because I'm the one who's collecting. Like nobody else is doing this. I'm the old one collecting all these computers and then getting computers ready for the devs and shit. And there's like this random meeting that got scheduled on my calendar and I'm getting this computer ready for this developer. And he was like, he needed it like that day because he was like it was like his computer got screwed up and he was like the head developer.
Sure.
And so I'm late to this meeting because I'm fixing this guy's computer.
Oh.
And I walk in the room and there's like all of my IT colleagues in there, or half of them in there, and they're all just heads down looking so sad. And they hand me a folder,
And you're
Aaron.
cooked. It was your files to leave.
Yeah, they're like, here's your severance package. That was nice. I got like $7,000 severance package.
Oh, nice.
And then like you have 15 minutes to get out of the building.
15 minutes?
Yes, 15 minutes before security escorts you out. And when I got back to my desk, already revoked access to everything. Like I couldn't get back into anything. And so
You got cooked
that
out
was
of
it.
there.
Yeah, I just like grabbed my things and had to leave. That was it.
That's
But
insane.
um
Wow. So I guess that was, and then we can get to it in a little bit. That was then what led you then into doing what is Lakeshore from there, I assume.
Lakeshore Video. Yeah, so so when I got laid off, that was 2016, and I honestly thought I was kind of like, you you know what? I need to stick with IT because it's a safer route than trying to do video. So
Oh, wow. You even had that mindset in you.
yeah, because I was like 26
Mhm.
and at 27 I would lose my parents' insurance.
Right. That's
And
right.
so I was like, I really can't afford to be like doing this shit. I need
That's fair.
insurance. And so I applied to so many IT jobs, but nothing. I couldn't get anything back. Not even
Yeah.
like nobody, because I didn't have any certifications or anything. I just like learned on the job, and everybody needs these certifications. And I was like, man, I don't want to fucking go through and do all these damn certifications and everything. It just seemed like I really didn't care about the IT side of it. I really just wanted to do the video stuff, and I was working in IT because they were letting me do all these video
Yeah.
video
That
related
was the
IT
exciting
things.
thing.
Yeah, and so I was like, I don't want to learn all these certifications and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I probably could have passed them easily, but
It just
you
sounds
you
boring.
still have to learn it to make sure you have it before, because it costs like $200 to take the test or whatever. And
Yep.
so I'm like, I gotta study. It was just so boring to me, and so I had like 6 months of unemployment, which was nice.
And
And in that time, like I said, I was just applying to jobs, but I was also still doing video on the side. I was doing weddings and stuff.
you had gear built up on the side.
Yeah, I was still buying gear. Uh, I had I had the GH4 at that point with the 18 to 30
Were you
flat
using
guards.
that said job's money to collect to like put aside to buy gear, or
Well, what I tried to do was
the severance package you got, right?
yeah, that too, but what I tried to do is make sure the gear was paying for itself. So
Mhm.
any money that I made from my job outside of that initial $3,000,
Mhm.
I tried to just like take that money and like invest it for retirement. And then
Okay.
any money that and pay bills and shit like that, but any money that I made using the video gear, that money was what I could use to buy more video gear. You know what I mean? That's how I
Oh,
looked at it. It was
smart.
like, if this isn't paying for more gear, then I'm doing something wrong.
Right.
So,
It
um,
it's really it's really interesting to me because, like, I mean, you started off that conversation with talking about like how you were like getting gear and why you were collecting gear, and then now we're at a point of like you went through all that and then you're doing weddings and you're able to like function normally through weddings as opposed to just like maybe just shooting a ceremony,
yeah.
like we were talking about earlier. And it's really interesting because George and I both do like the things we have in common. Like, I think it's kind of funny because like I think you were one of the first people I knew of that was like actively out there shooting weddings.
Mhm.
Um, it was I found like at a similar time, like you and Corey, I think were like the first two that I was like, okay, you guys are doing weddings. Like, it seemed like something that like I could dive into, but I wasn't quite into that yet.
Mhm.
I was, but wasn't. I'll get into that in a second. And so you and I both shoot like currently we both do like weddings, events, or like I'm lately doing like a lot of like more corporate things.
Mhm.
I do music, and you're like more getting into more music stuff.
Yeah.
I've seen over the last like couple years at least, if
Basically
not more.
because of you. I never even
Yeah.
thought about doing music. Well, I mean, I knew it was always fun, but I always thought there was no money in it until you
Well,
started doing it.
here's why here's what happened. So like people would so to kind of step back and we'll get into where we're at now, but Um, and I'll even get into the wedding thing in a second, but to go to the music thing, so because I was filming so far, the thing that really stuck out to me wasn't that I was getting paid more than my golf course job, or it wasn't like the pay. I wasn't like, oh wow, this is why I'm gonna focus on music. Like that was not it. It was the fact that when I would film these shows for artists, they would say like the response that I would get, because I got to a point where I was like I said, the head of video, and I'd edit these shows, or like I'd in fact talk to the artists at the shows, right? I became friends with them, like built these connections over the years, and like the one common thing that all these artists had back then was like they're like, wow, we really like this like video, like it's like a really helpful thing for us. And like it wasn't just like a thing I heard from like 2 and 3 people, like there was like 10, 12, 15, like people just kept telling me this. And then it dawned on me one day when I was sitting on my computer and I was like, wait, does anyone do this on a freelance basis? So I searched like live music filming Chicago, and I saw two things. A guy named Vanilla Video, but I went to his website and his videos were all like corporate events and like food videos. So I was like, why did that come up? That has nothing to do. And like there was like one video, there was a band playing at a corporate event. So maybe that's why it came up,
Yeah.
SEO or something. And the other thing that came up was Audio Tree Live. Do you know what Audio Tree is? They're like a famous music branch, like for artist discoverability and artists playing live. Their headquarters is based out of Chicago. Artists from every which way come in, and I don't know if it's like a curated selection of artists, but it's a big music platform online. And so I saw those videos, but I'm like, wait a minute, there's a big company tied to that. I don't see like a Randy out here that's filming artists or is doing something that, if I'm an artist, I didn't see an approachable thing like that. Like I said, it was like a curated thing, so it wasn't like they would just be like, "Hey, George, come on in, come play Audio Tree." Like, not like that. Or you couldn't just call him, "Can I play?" And yeah, sure. Like it wasn't like that. So there wasn't really like an opportunity. Like I saw a hole in the market because I was like, "There's not an opportunity for artists to just like call somebody and like have their show filmed wherever." Like they might find some guy that's like, "Oh yeah, our company can do this for $6,000 overnight," you know. Because people would come in big, with big hefty cameras.
Oh yeah, they'd have a whole team. Because
So
back then, like for music in particular,
yeah.
you either were on television with it or nobody was filming it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I was like, let me take advantage of this moment while it's still here. And I remember when I was filming Sofars, my buddy Chris had the guy that brought me into Sofar to begin with, he had a C100. And that was the point where I was like, okay, he's got a C100. I've saved up the golf course money, and I've saved up, because I was living with my parents, as I mentioned, saved up the golf course money, saved up the Shameless money, and I saved up like fixing people's computers and things of that nature. And I was also starting to do weddings, which I'll tell you about in a second. But I was saving up that money, and so I got a C100, and then I had two cameras. And I remember texting my audio friend Dan, and I was like, "How do you record audio at shows?" Because like I was like, "I'm gonna do this. I'm not gonna give them camera audio." That was the one thing I knew I was not gonna do. He's like, "Here's a cheap way to do it. You get this little device, you plug it in. I forget the name of it. A lot of people know about it, but you plug it in your phone, and it has an XLR input and then a Phantom up on it, and so it goes out in front, and then it goes into the app, and you can just record like a mono channel of the show." So I was like, you know what? This is way better than camera audio. It's mono, but any artist that hears this, and even has me out of their shows is going to be impressed. Like I just knew it. And so I remember I was talking to a band when I ever filmed this over. I was like, if you guys ever want your show filmed, like let me know. I think I told them I'd do it for like $65 or something like that. And because I remember I saw like an old invoice very recently, and I was like, oh my
It
god.
would even cover your expenses now.
Yeah. And I had a C100 and a Canon 60D, so I used 60D for a wide shot, or maybe a C100 for the wide shot, and 60D I threw on a shoulder mount because I knew that camera would end after like 30 minutes, but C100 would keep rolling. So I did that for a while, like the mono channel audio, and I was like, okay, this has to be a business. So I called it Chicago Show Videos.
Oh, really?
Which I don't know if you ever saw that anywhere on the internet, but I
remember.
You kind of remember it vaguely.
Yeah, didn't you have an Instagram account?
I did.
Yeah.
So I started to do that, and then I remember like people saw it, and people were like, "What? Like someone's out here filming shows? What?"
Wow.
And then all of a sudden, like I would do so far. I told another artist I did, and they were like, "No way!" Like people, that was the attitude. It was like you can do this, and I was like, "Yeah, of course." So I'd give them their like mono channel thing, and like I think the most at that time I ever charged someone doing that like mono channel thing, I would do like an hour and a half show or 2 hour show for like $300 or something. I think I may have brought like Corey out to a show like way back, and him and I did one. I think it was like $350 or something, or I don't even remember. It was like
Yeah.
I remember that was like my cap though at the time. But there was a lot of people that were letting me do this at the time. I mean, one of the first bands I can remember was that let me film them was Beach Bunny before Beach Bunny was even big. In fact, it was Lily, the lead singer,
Yeah, and
playing.
you had me go film Beach Bunny at Riot Fest that one year. That was
Exactly, because I've known them for so long.
yeah.
Lily was so kind
That's so
enough.
cool.
Yeah.
Thank you for that shit.
Oh, of course. I knew that was cool. I was in
Yeah.
Jamaica.
Yeah.
I was in Jamaica at a wedding. But yeah, I remember Lily was kind enough to, well, her friend Alicia, who I knew, who was like very like in the music scene outside of So Far, connected me over to her, and that was how I met Lily. And she was like, "Oh my god, of course!" And I remember she posted one of the like super exciting moments of this whole thing that felt cool to me was like I filmed Lily, 2 camera setup at Shuba's, the mono channel audio, and I remember sending her the video, and she's like, "Can I put this on the Beach Bunny YouTube?" And I was like,
Nice.
my video's that Beach Bunny YouTube. Oh my god. And then like I remember a couple weeks later she had a yapping for a while.
No, that's fine.
A couple weeks later she had a show at Empty Bottle, but I remember thinking like I should probably film that and like just I'm not gonna ask her to like pay. I'm just gonna ask her if I can film it. And she was super down with that. So I filmed that. She posted that also on like I think it was also the Beach Bunny YouTube. Or if it wasn't on there, I remember she shared it on her socials at least. So I remember like my tag was there on the account and everything, and like a couple friends like see Beach Bunny, right? People were like, "Oh my god, Beach Bunny!" And like I said, live show filming wasn't quite a thing.
Mhm.
So people were like, "What?" And like I remember people like sharing the video around, and then so not only that, but people were sharing So Far videos simultaneously. And my name started going because like tagging
Nice.
was a
Yeah,
big
yeah.
thing back in the day.
Mhm.
If you saw a tag, you'd be like, "A videographer?"
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my wait, and like if you were a videographer, that was cool enough, but being a live music videographer was like that extra layer of like
Yeah.
coolness. And to a degree, I guess it still is today
Dude, I was thinking about that as you're talking just now. Like, even to this day, there's not that many people that offer it just because you need so many cameras to do it.
yeah, and people
Like
are
for live shows.
afraid of it. And
Yeah,
I
yeah. me
remember
too.
all this to say that like I remember I just was able to take I saw the So Far setup boys, and I kept thinking to myself like I need to build this version of filming out in public like
Mhm.
and do my own thing. And I did, and I just kept doing those like mono, and then all of a sudden I realized those like mono audio things. But I realized that was the one thing that like after a couple shows that I was like, okay, I need to get this better. And I realized that like you could do board recordings.
Mhm.
But I started doing that, and it started sounding better. Artists were like, these videos are getting better. Like, wow, it's.
Nice.
And then eventually I used the like little amount of money I was charging after enough shows to use that money to buy another C100. But I was like, wait, I don't have another camera operator. It's just me.
Yeah.
Like, what do I do?
Yeah.
And that was where like I remember I had Corey use one of my C100s for like a show we filmed at some guy's like he was playing at like the Contemporary Arts Museum or something like that. So I had him use one of my C100s. We did like a multi camera thing. And people were like, wow, this is cool. And so it kind of like all like took off from there. But simultaneously, to go back to the wedding thing that I mentioned, um, I think that oddly enough, because I think remember I mentioned Shameless was out of town. So I was like, I need to fill that gap a little bit. Let me call the golf course and see if they want me in for like another season, even though I had quit the year before. Um, so I was like, and I called them and they're like, yeah, come on, come back in, whatever, during the summer. So I was doing that, but it was still kind of like dog water pay minus like tips. But I had that money and like the kind of small income I was building off of like doing shows. Even though there were still shows I would do for free here and there if I found like a cool artist to work with that had like well, I don't mean it in that way. I mean it in like a way of like an artist that had a big following that I knew I'd get like a big exposure or whatever and get my name out there with, which worked very well in my favor. But it was just kind of like alternating between those gigs. But one day when I was at the golf course, I see this buddy that I skate with again, someone I skate with, come to the top of the staircase at the golf course, and he has this big, probably a camera, like a big like PZ camera of sorts.
Yeah.
And I was like, Anthony? Is that you? Like, he lived like 30 minutes away from me, and he's like, Max? Where, like, it's like, what are you doing, dude? Literally, I looked, I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm filming a wedding. And I was like, I didn't know there's a wedding happening here. Do they have weddings here? Like, what? And he's like, yeah, I work with this company called Our Wedding Movie. And I was like, oh, word, do you need anybody to help you out? Or like, can I get on that? Or what's up? Or, and he like, I don't even know why. He was working. He was filming a wedding and he still had the like kindness to explain this
Yeah.
mid-wedding shoot. And yeah, I remember like the last thing he left me with, he was like, yeah, he's like, here, I'll give my boss like your number and he'll contact you within the next like 3 weeks or something. He didn't end up contacting me for like 8 weeks.
So
And I thought that like I was like, oh, after like the third week going by, I was like, it's done. I'm never getting in the wedding business. It's over. And because I didn't know where else. But between that gap, my friend Austin, at the time, his dad knew that I was filming his son skating. Simultaneously, that was the thing I did for fun, for free. Meanwhile, yeah, I'm not gonna make skaters pay.
yeah.
Imagine $50 to get this clip right now. But I remember his dad was like, "Hey, my cousin's having a wedding." To go back to what you were saying with like the ceremony thing, and he's like, "All they want is a ceremony on one camera filmed." And I was like, "Oh no, I have a couple of cameras," and he's like, "No way."
Oh shit.
And so I remember, I think I let Austin use a camera, and I was like, "Austin, I need you to be like focusing in on like a tighter shot of the bride and the groom up there, and I'll be getting the wide shot or something." And I remember like locked it down on a tripod where I had him do it, and I was on another tripod, and we just like two camered this ceremony that lasted like 30 minutes. And I mean, I think we filmed the ceremony. Oh, and then there was the reception, and his dad was like, "Oh yeah, I think we need you to get like a couple of these like dances." And I definitely did not film the dance all the way through.
Yeah.
For sure not. I didn't even know you were supposed to back then. Because what am I supposed to know? I hadn't filmed a wedding. I was like, just someone was like, go film and have fun. Given no instructions. So I filmed it, and I think after the wedding, like I don't even remember if it was like guaranteed that he was gonna pay me. I think he said he was like, I'll pay you something, I think is what he said. And he gave me like $120 after that wedding, and I was like, I kind of remembered that moment when I was talking to my friend Anthony, and I was like, if I can get that far doing weddings, I think if I go to a company, they can show me the ropes
Yeah.
at least. So Anthony was actually one of my trainers, and he took me to like you had to do like a free wedding at first, where like you were the person.
Yeah.
Like
Learning.
yeah.
Shadowing.
The shadowing, there it is. I had to be his shadow, so I was like going through this wedding, and he was like, I remember I just like the one thing that kept confusing me because I throughout my life it sounds so every time I say this, people look at me funny, but like as a kid, like I can only recall one, maybe two weddings I've been to as a little kid.
Yeah.
I
Same.
don't. Yeah, when I talk to other people about this, they're always like, "Oh yeah, no, I grew up. I went to like 35." I'm like,
I went to a couple.
excuse me, like,
Yeah.
and so people have known the course of like how weddings work, but when he was shadowing me the whole entire time, everything I'm like, "When's the reception? Oh my god, wait, is the ceremony happening? Wait, what is the ceremony? Wait." And I kept like asking these things.
Dude, that's how I felt when I started with weddings. Yeah.
And I was like, I had no idea.
Yeah.
But I knew that I had a couple cameras, and I knew that would be useful for weddings because I saw it useful once. And then he started to explain to me, he's like, Our Wedding Movie did like one videographer weddings, and I guess they did. So I learned, I learned late that I like screwed up some weddings, but they never told me that I was screwing them.
Oh.
Because he said we did one videographer wedding, so I thought that meant one videographer, one camera. Because he never told me I need a second camera, and I would turn in the wedding footage, and no one ever said anything. So I would be on wheels, the wheels they gave me in tripod, and I would film ceremonies one camera for them.
Oh wow.
And just like be like really like easy on the zooms, like on my lens and everything. And no one ever said anything to me. And then I remember like I brought Corey on to film these with me, and he shows up one of the days with like a couple cameras, and he's like, "Where's your other camera at?" And I was like, "What?" And I remember talking to my boss, and I was like, "You need another camera?" He's like, "Yeah, well, we kind of prefer these other, like, have a couple of cameras." And I was like, "Oh, how come no one was saying anything?" He's like, "Oh, it doesn't matter. We just like, the what did he say?" He's like, "I think they like them anyway," or something to that effect.
Wow.
And I was like, I guess he didn't care. So having that whole experience of that and like doing Our Wedding Movie kind of like brought me the whole like way of which weddings work. And I don't remember I think I met you a little bit before then, because there was like
What year would that have been?
I don't know, but I think you and I knew each other over the internet, but I finally met you in person at a Chicago event this lady was hosting to do skate video premieres.
Me and Tasso entered, and I think we won.
Yep, we did.
That was like 2016-ish.
Yeah. And then we filmed skating. I was talking to you said you film weddings.
Yeah.
So then I started picking your brain more, and we learned that we both are nerdy and yap about this
So
stuff.
that's so wild, like hearing you had probably, I would say, more of a traditional way of getting into the wedding industry.
Then
But
you, yeah.
mine was like, I'm so stubborn.
Oh, I'm stubborn too. You have to be stubborn in this business.
Yeah. But I'm honestly like, I was in my early career was just shooting myself in the foot left and right. Like I said, not networking, that was bad. But
Yep.
on top of it, like I was so stubborn about like weddings that like when I first realized what a highlight edit was probably
It sounds so old.
yeah, but I didn't even know people did these until it was 2015, I think.
Everything's a highlight.
It was like
now.
it was like shortly after I got the XA20.
Yeah.
And you know, my friend Matt Bigelow lived on the next street over. We've known.
That was a goat for you.
We knew each other since we were kids. He was good friends with my brother because he's 2 years older than me. And my brother is his age. But Matt skated too, so like, you know, I kind of came from the same background of skateboarding and stuff. And so Matt was like, "Hey, you know, I'm shooting this wedding." Actually, I don't even know if it probably wasn't actually Matt that landed me this gig. I think it was my mom knew the bride's mom. I think that's how I landed the gig. And then I showed up and I was like, "Wait, Matt's the photographer. This is awesome." And so like me and Tasso showed up, and this was like, you know, not my first wedding, but my first time like where they were like wanted more than just the ceremony. And
Right.
I
You had to figure out
remember
what the events were, right?
I remember thinking like, what do I film? And when I got there, like I didn't understand because we got there for the getting ready part
I didn't get that either.
we were at the bride's house, and Matt's over there taking pictures, and I'm like, Matt, what am I supposed to film?
Yes,
And
I had that moment.
he gave me the best advice ever, and he was like, just grab shots of anything that looks like they spent money on it. If they spent money on it for this day, you get shots of it. And I was like, dude, okay, I get it now. That's all you got to do. And so like anything like the dress, the flowers, anything that was like for the wedding.
That is good advice.
I was like, dude, okay, I'll just film all that shit. And Matt was a photographer, so like I'm just shooting over his shoulder for a lot of this stuff, all the sort of highlight edit stuff, which is still typical to this day. Videographer just shoots over the shoulder of the photographer to save time, mostly.
Yeah.
And you can't have like multiple people like talking over. Hey, can you do this? Can you do that? Like I to this day will tell the photographer like, hey, okay, so throughout the day you keep directing because this group of people, you have a 12 people bridal party, they're gonna get confused, they're drunk and shit. So like if you're like directing them, then I'm like, hey, wait, guys, can you do this? Can you do that? They're like, wait, who's this other person talking to me? They're getting confused because we got two different people giving directions. And so to this day, I'll tell them, hey, like I will tell you if I need a shot. But otherwise, just assume that I'm getting the shots I need. But if there's a specific shot, I'm gonna tell you. And so like while they're directing, I'll be like, hey, okay, have them kiss real quick, or something like that, or like, hey, can you get them all to like run towards the camera?
Yeah.
And they'll do it because it's just so much easier to have like one person directing. But so back to like getting into it, like that particular shoot, I think we charged like $500 maybe, and that was for two people, me and Tasso. And
Oh my God. I think we got paid similar. Our wedding movie, I think I'd walk out like
yeah,
I didn't remember. I think it was like I get like a couple hundred something.
So I remember like I thought that all these clips that I filmed, I thought that had to be every shot needed to be in this thing. And like I for some reason thought that everybody's edits were like 2 hours long. And so I did like a 2-hour highlight edit. And I was
Oh, it was like a full wedding video.
I was telling you earlier about this, but it took me like 40 hours to edit because I still was editing on that old MacBook from
Oh, yeah.
2009.
Yeah.
This is like 2015.
Or
So,
and
and dude,
$500.
it kept crashing and stuff. Like the Adobe would crash, and like I couldn't even like get it to play because I didn't know how proxies worked. I didn't use proxies.
Yeah.
And so like I would like make a change and then have to like export that little section
Oh, I've had to
just
do
to
that before.
even see what it did.
Yes.
And
on old
so
MacBooks.
dude, oh my God, it was a nightmare. Like I remember telling my mom, like, I don't think that I'm gonna stay in doing weddings because this is insanity, like how long it took.
Yeah.
And like Tasso did the highlight edit, the short one, and like I'm like most of the way through this long edit, and then Tasso sends me this highlight edit. I'm like, what is this? He's like, dude, this is what they're doing now. It's like a short version of the long video, but just like only the highlights. And I was like, dude, this is so much cooler than what I was editing. I was like, this is where it's at. And that opened my eyes to like, okay, highlight edits are where it's at. And like people didn't really do them at the time.
No.
In 2015. Like I really had never seen one
I
before.
don't even think highlight videos really came around till what?
Probably 2018. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But so yeah, we're doing highlight edits in 2015, and after the shoot, because it took so much time and to deliver it to them,
The upload time is cooked.
no, dude, it wasn't like an upload. I would put it on a DVD.
Oh, that's
And
right.
I'd
I
give
did
them
that
a
too.
DVD.
I forgot. Me
That's-
too.
Yeah, that's like what it was back then. Everybody expected a DVD. It wasn't until 2020 that I stopped giving out DVDs because people like wanted it until then. But then once the pandemic hit, people were forced to get more tech savvy. So
Yeah.
that's when they like learned how to download things and like save. Oh, for a while actually I was giving out flash drives that were like fancy printed. You could like get their picture printed on the
Oh no, I would just get their picture printed on the disc label that I would make.
yeah. But like some people, they were like, "Can you give me the file?" And I would just get them a flash drive that was like real fancy and stuff, and mail them the flash drive. But like,
Oh my god.
but internet speeds weren't really fast enough to upload it. Like you said it just take forever.
Yeah.
But and people didn't really want it on YouTube. They felt weird about it being on YouTube.
Oh my god.
So
it's so crazy how much changes.
back to what I said about being stubborn. I was so stubborn about the sort of filming side of it that I never worked for another company. I just went straight into it as my own thing. And the only experience I had on weddings was like a couple times I held the light for Bigelow. Other than that, I like most people, they'll be like a second shooter. And that's how they learn the business. I just went into it as the main shooter and just doing it. And like,
I think I even asked you when we wanted to work for our wedding movie or something, and I remember you were just like, no, I only work for myself.
Yeah, I was like really adamant about like not working because I had gotten so much rejection early in my career from like just never ever getting any callbacks from anything. I was just like, at some point the switch flipped and I was like, dude, I'm not working for anybody else. I'm working for myself. I don't care. Like I was mad about it. I was like, I don't care if you want me to work for you now. You should have wanted me to work for you before, like before I had to do all this stuff myself. So I don't know. I had like a chip on my shoulder about it. I don't know why. I was just like,
no, I know why you were being rejected so often.
Yeah, because I got so much rejection that I was just like mad about it, and I was like, no, dude, if I got to do it myself, I'm doing it myself.
Yeah.
And dude, I noticed in like 2016 that photographers got paid way more than videographers.
I noticed that too.
Like nobody wanted to give, because like after that wedding that we did for $500, I was like, Tasso, we can't do this. Like it's so much work for $500, $250 a piece. Like this is so much work. We're not doing this unless we raise our prices. So I told the bride's mom, her sister was getting married, and so the bride's mom was like, hey, how much for, we want to have you do this wedding too. And I was like, yeah, we need like $1,500 to make it worth it. And she was like, $1,500, you're insane. Like that's crazy. And even
hang on, we're laughing about that.
Even they said no, that they probably spent like $3-4 grand on the photographer. But they wouldn't spend $1,500 on the video.
And nowadays 1,500 is like very low.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, and I was like, wait, you got money to hire Bigelow as your photographer, but you don't got money for me for a video. So I was kind of mad about that. But so we didn't get that job, but we did end up or what I ended up doing in 2016, I was like, why don't I just go into photography? Because I had that GH4.
Oh yeah, you did, yeah.
And it had with the 18 to 35, it looks pretty good. Like it has that sort of full frame look with the speed booster and stuff. And so that's when I literally I had just built a website, but I didn't really know what I was doing. I was like on Wix, and I just like clicked on a template website, you know, and it just like populated it, and I was like, okay, so
I think I might still have my Squarespace template website.
oh yeah, yeah. So what I did is I just changed the words and then like put my picture at the top, and then I was like, well, I'll just work on the rest of this later because I don't like I'm gonna have to like
Figure this all out.
somehow upload some videos because I had never done photos for a wedding before, but I wanted to get into photos for weddings. So I went on this vacation up in northern Michigan. I was at this cabin. We rented out. We had a bunch of people there, like 20 people just partying at this cabin, and one of the girls there was like, "Hey, my mom's getting married," because I was taking pictures outside of the stars. I was getting like pictures of the Milky Way and stuff.
Wow.
And she was like, "Hey, my mom's getting married. Do you do weddings?" And I was like, "Yeah." Yeah, because she wanted a photographer, not a videographer. And she's like, "Do you do wedding photography too?" And I was like, "Yeah, I do wedding photography." And I literally lied about it. And she was like, "Send me your website." And I sent her that website that I had just started building, and it had a bunch of stock images on there. And then and then I met with her mom, and she was like, "Are these stock images?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "I do video, but I'm just getting into photos, and like I don't have any photos to put on here yet." And she was so nice about it. She was like, "Oh, that's okay. Like I mean, you do have experience doing videos though," because I showed her some of the videos, and she loved the videos.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Well, but do you think you could like do poses and stuff like that?" I was like, "Yeah, I can figure it out. Like we'll be good." And we did it, and I did photo and video. I brought Tasso to do the video.
That's nuts.
So Tasso was doing the video,
photo, okay.
yeah. But I remember getting to the gig and be like, "Tasso, how do you pose people?" Like, I don't know how to do poses. And he's like, "I don't know, man. Like, just let's look it up real quick." We like looked up some poses online, and we were like, just have him do this. And so I still do it to this day. I will still look up poses and be like, "You guys want to try this one?" You know?
I had to learn poses a similar way because I went to a wedding and I was with our wedding video. I was very prone to knowing the photographer would be the one posing the groups and being like, "All right, now we need you to do this." Like during their like photo sessions or during like moments poses were necessary, the photographer, all of them across the board, be like, "Do this, do that." And I got to one where this photographer had a Canon T3i and a Canon. This is like 2019 maybe. And like maybe it was somewhere in the 2019 2021 era, like this guy had a T3i and I think he had a 35 millimeter over his other shoulder, and I thought that he would like, because he had dual cameras, I was like, "Oh, he knows, we'll be good." And he gets there, and I remember like there's like all the groups, and like he wasn't being like, "Okay, like this person's family here, this one's like," or he wasn't even like, "Oh, I need you guys to go." He just said nothing. He was just there with his camera, like looking through it and like waiting for people to like line up or something. And I was like sitting there, and I'm like,
He wasn't directing him or anything.
"No."
Jeez.
And I was like, "This seems weird." And so I like anxiously went to go look for the coordinator, and I was like, "Hey, do you know like whose family's who here?" And she's like, "That's the photographer knows that." I was like, "No, he doesn't." She's like, "What do you mean?" And I was like,
Oh,
"He doesn't
shit.
know." And so I went over to her, and she's like, "Okay, we need this family here and this family here." And I remember I started like grabbing people from the family. I was like, "All right, now let's get like, you know, the thing where they like single people out, like they'll be like, immediate family and extended family. I started doing that on my own.
Oh yeah.
And then I was like, okay, we need them. Like, I was like, let's get out like a, the shot where they're like, ah.
Yeah. The fun.
I was like, let's do that shot. And then I was like, all right, let's get a shot like, everyone just like smiling, nice, whatever. And that was like, and all of a sudden, I I became the director for the photographer to get these shots.
Oh wow.
And I hadn't even done that thing before.
Yeah.
So I went on Google and I started looking up like poses because I was like, I don't want to tell everyone to do the exact same poses.
Yeah.
And I've seen photographers do that at weddings even to this day.
Yeah.
And I remember there was a couple, and one of them was like, get the couple to kiss for a photo, and like,
Yeah.
if the couple has a champagne bottle, get them to like pop the champagne bottle, or like there was like different things like that on Google, and there wasn't a readily available champagne bottle or anything like that, but it was like get them like with foliage in the front of the image, and get them to like like all these different like
When you're doing this at the wedding, like looking at it
on Google, and I'm the videographer, and I'm just sitting there like, this is how I get to learn this.
I've had a few weddings where I've had to take the reins because the photographer was just like standing there not knowing what to do.
Same thing, yeah.
I'm just like, I got this, don't worry. And I'm like, all right, you come over here. We're gonna go do this. And like, even like at the getting ready, like one time I had the photographer like didn't know what to do, and I had all these shots in mind that I was gonna get, and I was like, oh, they'll probably get the same shots, so I'll just wait for them. And they're not getting the shots, and I'm looking at the time, and I'm like,
ceremony in 30 minutes.
yeah, I'm like, hey, do you mind if I take over? And they're like, no, that's fine. Then they were like happy to let me take over because they did not want to do all the pose. They didn't know what to do, and they were like, yeah, you can. And then afterwards, they're like, man, these are the best photos I ever got. Like, good. This is what you need to do on all the weddings. But dude, yeah, and like.
We didn't learn this. This wasn't a thing either of us got like instruction in college for.
No,
like
definitely
this
not in
specific
college.
thing.
Yeah, no.
Getting like the getting ready stuff. We didn't learn.
Yeah,
this.
but the thing is like, for the wedding photo side of things, like I kind of like, well, after that first wedding, that bride, it was the one girl's mom.
Yeah.
Well, now her son is getting married too, so I did his wedding. So that gave me 2 weddings to put on my website.
Oh, nice.
And so that was good. But for his wedding, I did photo and video by myself because Tasso didn't want to do it anymore. He was like, I don't really like doing this stuff. And so I was like, well, I don't know anybody else that does video for weddings. Like at the time, I just didn't know another videographer.
Yeah, of course not.
And,
no, it wasn't popular.
Yeah, and so like I ended up doing a bunch between 2016 and 2017. I did a bunch of like photo and video by myself. Like I ended up doing one up in Michigan, close to where that barn, close to where that cabin party was, for another friend that was at the cabin party.
Sure.
Because he started seeing, oh, you did her mom and sister's wedding or mom and brother's wedding. Yeah, come do my wedding. And I remember like running around. It was 95 degrees. And we're like at the lake, like up against the lake.
95 is insane. We're doing a wedding.
Dude, it is fucking. Oh
I've
my
been
God,
there.
it's insane. And so I'm taking pictures of them like coming down the aisle, then switching over to video and trying to get this video shot. And I'm shooting on a gimbal too, so I'm like, I was like taking pictures with it on the gimbal because I'm like, I don't have time to swap it. So like picture, video, like get these shots, and I'm just running back and forth, and I got to go check the camera over there because I had the wide shot, and like at the end of the ceremony, my shirt was just soaked, like soaked through, like I was so wet, and I think I changed my shirt afterwards. But yeah, it was wild, but that one was super fun because it was like all friends from high school. So it was like they were just like laughing at me, like they didn't care that I was all sweaty and stuff.
I had that same thing almost, like friends from high school, because one of the first people that let me film a wedding that wasn't for our wedding movie, that was on my own, was a friend from high school that remember I said earlier that I was the camera guy, and he remembered that. He's like, oh, you're the guy that films like skating and like you film some music videos around town.
Yeah.
And he's like, could you film my wedding? And like, I like at the time, like I guess I like halfway lied where I was like, yeah, I filmed other people's weddings, like, and I had because I filmed our wedding movie, but I'm saying halfway lied because I didn't film stuff outside of that wasn't like a very our wedding movie, they give us a thing called Asana, where you'd have a checklist and it'd say like, first part, film getting ready, and then you'd open that and it would say like, go to bridal suite in hotel lobby room 2A, grab shot of her putting on necklace, grab shot of her as she's holding, like it would have itemized things. But for this one, I hadn't. It was obviously like a friend, so I had never. I felt some kind of pressure of like, better get this high school buddy's friend of mine, like better get his wedding right, you know.
Yeah.
But I was like, maybe I can defer to like an Asana sheet. But I remember Asana wasn't loading, so I was like, oh shoot,
really?
like I had to kind of remember this on site.
Yeah.
And I kind of was remembering how Asana worked and how I was doing these our wedding week. Remember I said I was confused with the events, but all events all started to click of how they worked at this wedding.
Nice.
And I was like, oh, this is all coming back to me.
Yeah.
And in that very wedding, I quickly was learning perfectly how weddings go, what shots I needed, all that. And I got all the right shots. And I remember like this was one I made on DVD and everything. But I remember I made like a full like hour and a half video of his full wedding, like everything, B-roll shots and all the music he wanted. And like I remember they both like really liked it. And I was like, like this huge like sense of relief afterward, where I was like, knowing full well I didn't shoot maybe like the craziest wedding video, but at the time I wasn't even like posting weddings on Instagram. Like I said earlier, I was building my Instagram with like music clientele and like maybe other event. Like I remember shot like some like women's empowerment event and some other like random corporate event. And like I was shooting for a school back then. Like so there was like kind of like a mix of that stuff on my Instagram page. So it wasn't like even at that the same time frame, since similar to what you were saying, it wasn't like I could search for other wedding videographer, like wedding videographer Chicago, or like that was not like a thing. Like people weren't building their businesses on Instagram. Back then, I was like one of few people that was doing that back then. So I remember like I didn't have anything to like go back after and watch that wedding and be like, this is like how it compares to this.
Yeah.
I had maybe seen like something you did or something, and then I remember Corey had shown me a video on his computer at his house of like something he had done. So those were like the only two things I really had to like kind of like compare. And I remember both of your videos. I remember in my mind I'm like, these are like 10 times better than like than the video I just did. But I was like, in the grand scheme, like if I mean they told me they were happy with it, so as long as they're
happy,
then I'm good. So then I remember I like showed that, and then it kind of like took off from there because I remember I sent that video to like a couple other people, and there was like a guy in Wheaton I knew that was also another friend of mine. And it turned into like a filming friends wedding kind of thing outside of our wedding movie. But even then, I think I was not even close to charge. I think I charged $800 for that wedding I just told you about, including the edit and everything.
Yeah.
And I think I charged someone else $800, and someone else saw me for ceremony and that I would charge like 500. Just crap like that. But it was like 2 cameras.
Yeah.
It's 2 C100s.
Yeah.
You know? And that was it. But I mean, it's so weird to think because like weddings is even at the forefront of what I like. Weddings, I work for wedding companies. Like I work for Blue Water Kings. I work for Arbery. I work for, there's a couple other name out there that I work for now that have hired me and they love what I do. And I've definitely going through the ringer, like we're talking about, you know, having upgraded to way better equipment now. Cause I was a Canon shooter back then.
Yeah.
Now I'm Sony and Sony FX6, FX30, FX3, all that. And they love it and they're great, you know. And it's just shoot wedding. I don't even have to edit, just upload footage. And it's the best thing working for them, and they're paying me what I need, and they love what I do, and it's nice doing that. But I on the side still have like acquaintances or people that I know that are like, I saw that you were out, like, or they'll catch me at some of those weddings sometimes and be like, hey, I need you to film my wedding at this, or I remember you did like Jeff's wedding in Wheaton, can you come, blah blah blah. And so like I'll have my own wedding clientele here and there, but I don't like, I know nowadays there's a lot of like wedding grinders where they're like out there like, gotta find the next wedding, hurry up, next wedding. And like you kind of were like that for a while. Like you were on your wedding grind for like quite a while, like far more than I was, I'll say.
Good.
And so then it was like weddings were a thing that were in my like, and still are a thing that are in my like realm of things that I can do. And so I was like, that's kind of how I like operate now, where it's like weddings are a thing. And now like corporate events are shining way more over the last like 3 or 4 years. There's more and more corporate events. People are like, I'm just giving them like raw footage and sometimes edits. And so corporate events are coming in, and there's like I just shot that event for Coca-Cola just recently.
That's awesome.
right here filming this podcast before we're about to film
we're about to go
a corporate event in Kentucky.
Right after this podcast, we're driving to Louisville to go film a corporate event.
6 hours to Louisville or
4 hours.
4 hours to Louisville to go film a corporate event out there. And so it's like kind of a full circle. That's kind of why we did this podcast. We're out here like for gonna go filming like a 10-hour day or something out there. And so corporate events are a thing, corporate music, weddings, and then some schools still, like there's a school that has me filming. I'm filming something for them at the end of this month. Next month, there's a school that has me filming something for them like once a month right now.
Nice.
And I love like working for schools is a really fun thing for me. I always look for opportunities. I tell people I film for schools because I do. And I've never worked at a school and been like, oh, that sucked. Like every time I've worked at a school, I'm like, that's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And most of the time they just want raw footage.
Yeah.
And they have like their in-house editor or something. So yeah, it's super fun. So it's been like a mix of a lot of that now.
Yeah.
Which is funny because when I was filming music, a lot of people were like, you should stick to music. You need a niche.
Yeah.
Music.
Dude, that's what I always got. You got to be a niche. Everyone says that. But dude, it's like, for me, like it's always been corporate and weddings were kind of like my thing. But I, like by necessity, had to branch out into everything because you get, like there was, like you said, there was like kind of so few videographers back in the day that everybody wanted you to do everything.
Yep.
You know, like back.
Oh, you have a camera? Sure. Like you're gonna go film this wild event of mine.
Up until 2020, like there was nobody like I mean, there just wasn't a lot of like big businesses doing it. I feel
that were well known.
They were well known.
So the people could easily access. There might have been people, but they were
too expensive.
They were way too expensive.
And so like when these freelancers like us that came in and could like do it for cheaper, like that they were just like, you can do this, right? You got a camera, you can do this, you can do that. And so like by necessity, I kind of branched out into like a lot of different types of shoots and like the photography side too.
Do you think your lens came? I just heard a box.
We could check.
Do you want to check and see real quick?
I would have gotten a notification. I think.
I definitely just heard a box drop or a thump at your door. I 100% just heard that.
No, I think that was my fridge. I heard something over there.
It's not here?
No, I don't see anything.
Okay.
There's nobody there.
Damn it, false alarm.
It would have
false.
We're waiting on a lens, by the way. That's why we're still here filming.
But continue. So you said by necessity you started filming these other events.
So like by necessity I branched out into other things, but like I said, my background was at PBS.
Yeah.
So corporate kind of made sense, the interviews. Cuz like that's something that I feel like
you taught me how to film interviews.
I feel like not everybody knew, especially in the wedding side, they don't know how to do interviews. They have no idea how to do a good interview. And I just knew how to do good interviews because of working at PBS. And like that was just a normal thing to me. Like I knew how to do 3-point lighting for interviews because that's what we did. And
can I interrupt you real quick?
Yeah.
You sent me a photo of your 3-point lighting setup one day. I held on to that 3-point lighting setup photo like I was holding on to a $10 million watch. I remember like there was like an interview I had to film impromptu for somebody.
You bring it up,
and I
like
literally was like, look, I'm like, this light here. Okay, wait. Oh, the little bouncer needs to be here. Okay, wait. And I was like, oh my God, that was like the best thing you had ever sent me at the time.
And honestly, my lighting kind of, it was better than no lighting for sure, but it wasn't the greatest lighting until 2020.
But even some lighting then was good.
Yeah, I mean any lighting was better than no lighting. So like that's why I landed all the gigs. But my lighting didn't become like something I was like known for basically until 2020 when I had a bunch of time to just practice lighting. And I did that Artist Underground series.
Oh yeah, you did. Yeah,
that is what made me good at lighting. Literally just doing a bunch of interviews where I even filmed one with Art, the first episode. I filmed it, didn't like the lighting, and we refilmed the entire thing because I was like, I don't like how the lighting turned out. And Art was mad because he was like, dude, that was such a good interview. I was like, I know, but I don't care. Like, I need to get this lighting right because the reason why I'm doing this is to show off like what I can do. And so like I spent like that whole time just like studying lighting. And that's when I started investing in like the more expensive lights, all the Godox lights and stuff. And so
I think you made me get a go to.
yeah, I remember at one point seeing some of your interviews and I was like, dude, buy this light. You need a fucking better light.
And then you started telling me about mics even then.
Yeah.
I started to get more mics and stuff because of you. There was like I think there was maybe a Sony mic or some.
Oh, you know what you heard is those birds at the bird feeder. Yeah, I just heard it again. But yeah. So
You showed me the ropes.
but anyways, before that, so like doing the weddings and stuff, I remember like for a while there, it was just like every time I did a wedding, like 3 more people were like, "Oh, I saw you did so and so's wedding. Like, can you do mine?" It was all word of mouth, and I I had terrible SEO. My website, I didn't even realize.
So you were like current day me, like
Dude, I told you, I think I told you this, like during the pandemic, I went to go redo my whole website and I realized that all of the messages on my website were, uh, I didn't have my email connected to it. And so these messages were going nowhere. So
when people reach out, you lose them.
yeah, well, it was in the Wix app, like, but I didn't know you had to go in there to see it. I thought they were coming to my email. And so for like 2.5 years or
You
something,
missed a slew of
dude,
gigs.
I missed so many gigs and they were big gigs. I looked at all these messages and I'm like,
You'll pay you
dude,
$10,000.
dude, literally I lost out on like $100,000 of gigs because there was so many that had come in and I didn't know I wasn't getting them. I just thought that I was like not a good videographer or something. And so like once I fixed that, then like everything took off.
Well,
But
this is, I don't mean to pause you. I'm sorry, but this is right. I need to stop you on there because this is a good example for if, in case there's anyone watching that's like not doing this, that doesn't have any like sense of this. Like this job is not just like cameraman walk to a job. He point camera, he give me video. Like the thing you're talking about right now is like 1/16th of like extra things we do that are like off camera and other things like. We have to learn how to do a website. We have to learn how to market.
things, yeah.
We have to learn how to SEO. And so, like, continue. I just wanted to add that detail because that's, I think, important.
Yeah, that's equally or more important than actually knowing how to use the camera.
Yep.
Is just making sure you have like a good website, good SEO, good social medias, all that stuff. And you rely probably more on social media than I do, but
yeah,
because we were talking about this before, I use social media as like a portfolio piece, whereas you use it to like actually gain an audience and get gigs.
I will. And a part of that has to do with post-COVID because pre-COVID, and I'm glad you brought that up because pre-COVID, if you had asked me to get in front of a camera pre-COVID, I would have ran from you like you were a stranger getting ready to abduct me. Like pre-COVID, if we were doing this podcast, I would have told you, you'd been like, Max, I knew about it. I'd be like, George, absolutely not. And I probably won't talk to you for the next 10 weeks after this.
Yeah.
Because I was like that afraid of being on camera. Like there's literal evidence of this. Like there's a literal YouTube video of me in high school where it was like supposed to be our whole entire high school's video team. Like in this one shot, it was like a last minute like goodbye thing because we were like leaving. It was like my senior year. We were supposed to all like wave to the camera, and like you see the team waving, and you just see me go like this. I up to him. I hide underneath the wall and get out of the shot. I was that afraid.
Wow.
And I realized that like during lockdown, I was like, hold on, like I started to think about this more logically. I was like, okay, like, and this is gonna sound such a funny way to reference this, but I was like, okay, businesses and like places that people go to and think like how do they do their thing? So I was like, when I think about like McDonald's, right? I think about like burger, right? Or like fries or something. So I was like, when people think of my business, what do I want them to think of? And I sat on that and I was like, okay, they think about music, but like they also need to think about like the fries. There's the burger, but what are like the fries they're thinking of, right? Or vice versa, like fries and burger or whatever. And then I was like, wait, they need to think of like associate a face with the brand. Like, how are they gonna do that if my face isn't readily available on
Yeah.
social media.
Yeah.
And I noticed the unique thing was like there were friends of mine that were starting to share their work back then, and they didn't even have their face on it. So I was like, oh my god, this can separate me. Like
Yeah.
if I get good at being on camera, then this will take me to
You
the next level and I'll build a following. And
Yeah.
sure enough, I was right. And I during lockdown, TikTok came out, and I would get on TikTok and make videos, not telling anybody about it. I would just make videos that had nothing to do with anything. There were, if you ever get those in your email, you ever get those emails that are like, um, new, new car in, in Indiana will shock you and take the entire town by surprise or whatever. It's like
Yeah.
those like stupid bait emails.
Yeah.
I would just like make videos like reading those and like laughing at them, and they were getting like 75,000 views.
Damn.
I mean,
Nice.
some people were seeing it, and like it was a really like private video that I didn't tell anybody about. But a lot of people were like watching those, and like people were like, I remember one time someone commented, and they were like, they're like, this guy really knows what he's doing, and I was like, what? What do they mean? And it was really weird. So I was like, what kind of what he's talking about? So I made another video, and then someone else commented, and they were like, you're pretty good on camera, and I was like, wait, the guy who's like 10 videos deep the first time ever,
Yeah.
they're telling me I'm good on camera.
Nice.
So it gave me some kind of confidence that I
Yeah.
like made a quick like tutorial for like the so far people for like because they needed a tutorial for like any like editors they would hire. So I made them a tutorial and I showed it to like my boss at the time. And I sent it to her and I was like, tell me what you think of this. Like that was all. I just sent her the tutorial and said, tell me what you think. And she's like, oh, that's pretty good. And I was like, okay, so there's someone else. Like I needed like validation, I think.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, there's people telling me I'm good, and that means I can get even better. So I filmed on my YouTube channel. If you go scroll enough down, I started to make YouTube videos that weren't just like skate clips. So I used to just film skating and post skate videos
Yeah.
with all that other stuff I talked about. I would still film skate edits and make skate edits. Like we'd go to, I'd have video premieres and all that with like skateboarding. But I was like, I can finally make content now during lockdown. So then I literally my dash on my car, set my Canon R that I had got during lockdown on my dash, and then just like would drive, but like not with the camera right here, but like a little bit off centered. And I was just like suddenly talking like I was talking to you right now.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh my God, I can be really good on camera. And like I felt within my own worth, I was like, I don't need to send this to somebody. Like I just filmed this whole video of me going to the skate park and filming clips, and not at any point did I feel weird about it. I was like, I know myself, I feel very good about this, and I know I can post this, and I know I can share it, and I don't have to tell people, "Can you watch this? Tell me what you think."
Yeah.
And I did, and the video got like 600 views, and a lot of my like normie friends started to watch it for some reason, like, and they were like people that don't even like they don't skate, they don't have their own business, they're just like people that are in like IT, or maybe they're doing like marketing, or they're doing like tech stuff or like other things like that. And these people were actually the ones commenting, being like, dude, great video. You're a great content creator and blah, 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 blah. And like, I was reading those comments going like, oh yeah, I know I am. Like, I know I'm good. So then that was why I started building out my face on Instagram and building my business out. And then I'll never forget this. I give her full credit for this. I went to Florida like a couple years later. I met this girl on TikTok prior to going to Florida who through some other content, but I saw she was a wedding photographer. So I wanted to talk to her about like weddings when I was out there. So I met up with her, and still to this day, she's a very close friend of mine. And I talk with her and her husband like very regularly. But she also, I remember, was showing me, she's like, look at my Instagram page right now. She's like, now look at yours. Tell me what the difference is. And I was like, what? And she goes, you don't see it? And I'm like, no. Like, what am I doing? And she's like, number one, you're also mixing in family photos on your content on Instagram, and like your for fun photos and your business stuff. And she's like, I go to your page, I don't know what the heck you're doing. She's like, I see you shoot videos, but like you're also just like running around town doing your thing. And I was like, what's wrong with that? She's like, if you're a client coming to the page, do you want to see like this person with their mom and dad like having fun? I was like, oh yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
And then she's like, all right, now tell me what else is wrong with this. And I was like, no, it's good. Like, I'll just delete it. I'm fine. She's like, no, you're not. I was like, what? She's like, her thing said Florida wedding photographer. Mine said Max Williams. She's like, people when they're looking for videos aren't just searching Max Williams.
Yeah.
She's like, they're searching for a videographer. So I changed it. Dude, I tell you what, my business went like from like here to there the second I did that because people didn't know this trick yet in Chicago in the Midwest.
Oh, yeah. Now
I was like,
everybody's Chicago wedding videographer or whatever.
yeah.
Chicago videographer.
And this is 2021.
Yeah.
And this is like, and I'm like, oh my God. And it changed everything. I was getting like a ton of DMs. People like, can you come film this? Can you come film this? Can you come? And that was how I got connected to more schools. I got connected to more people. And like, I was just like going crazy. And all of a sudden, when I learned that was SEO, I had, meanwhile, during lockdown, been learning SEO on YouTube. So I was like, okay, I learned SEO on YouTube. And she just told me what Instagram SEO is. That was the point where I was like, okay, maybe I can like make my website look a little better and start putting SEO in, like on Squarespace, everything SEO. But I didn't go beyond that. You were the one that kind of almost recently started telling me about SEO on websites.
So that's because
what more? Because
can we tell the story
of my Instagram getting deleted? I'll reveal it. I'm the guy. I am the guy.
In another episode, I talked about a friend that had his Instagram deleted.
I'm the friend.
He's the one that got hacked, and they deleted it.
Oh.
You got lucky. You got it back.
I got lucky. So my entire business is like, dude, I think that was the first time I've like, outside of like friends dying and stuff, like out of like,
dude, you were devastated.
I was actually,
dude.
I had family at my house for a warming party or whatever. I'll just be very honest. I was sitting on a couch crying. Like I was like, dude, it's completely over because I had exercised everything they tell you to do. Like they go on facebook.com/password recovery. And I would do that and would say, sorry, your 2FA is not set up or something. And I was like, so because my 2FA is not set up, that means I can't get in. And you'd hit other method and it would be like, we'll send a text message to the text message it would send would be to the hacker's number they got in. And so I was like, okay, 2 methods, I can't get in. So then I would go on tutorials and it'd say, you can go on the back end of your Facebook marketing or Facebook, what's it called? Facebook ad page. And then you can go in through there and reverse it. But when I went in, they changed my ad name to be like some weird username and changed my like ad account number and all this. So it said this account is not tied to your thing. And I was like, okay, I'm cooked. It's done. Yeah. I knew it was done. And I was like,
I remember you were even like telling me I'm never getting back on Instagram again.
I'm not even
gonna try. You're like, I've got to go figure out a new business to do.
I was just gonna go full on YouTube and like just start making videos on YouTube. I was like, I'm done with this because like at that point I'm like, I don't want to make a whole new Instagram because like Instagram right now, like,
and you had what 4,000 or 5,000?
Oh no,
6,000,
6,500 followers.
Yeah,
and these are everything I just talked about throughout this whole podcast was my years, even on Shameless. Hey, what's up? Oh, you're making flowers at your flower shop? Cool. Add me on Instagram. You know, what you're sewing? Cool. Add me on, oh, cool. You know, all these creative people.
And then all the videos that you made, like for venues and stuff that like get you those followers.
Like, get your business were gone. And all everything that I had like worked to that very minute for was just boom, gone. And I thought, oh my God, I'm doomed. I just need to like, and nowadays people look at that and they go, dude, well, it's Reels. Like it just shows it's random people anyway. So just get going on a new account. And like the vast amount of people that were like, just make a new account and blah, blah, you'll be fine. Like I was getting like, and I was like, I don't want to do that. And I was like at a Bears game too. And there were people texting me, like my own family was like, make a new account. And I was being really stubborn. I'm like, no, I won't. And they got me to eventually. So I did. And like 100 people, you guys are nicest people ever, just like followed that account. And I was like on there and I had remembered, like I'd seen this girl that I like met. I'd seen this girl that I had met, like, I think it might've been like a dating app or something like that. And it was like people you may know. So I added her, but my story had said, this is a new account. And she told me, she said, she said something like, I work for the Facebook RX team in California. And I was like, what's that? And she's like, oh, we do like graphics and things like that and other tech things and whatever. And she's like, I actually have like a Facebook like recovery thing that I can do through my friend who works at the Facebook something team. And you just had to fill out this form and like we were on Discord. She goes, go over to Discord, fill this form out, send it to me. and we'll see if we can get. She's like, it's like about a 90% chance you'll get it back, but we'll see. And she did that, and sure enough, it's created a whole new email. She made me make a new email, and she said, send me the new email, and I'll associate it with your account. Bless her soul. Oh my God. I bought her and her friend dinner. Like, I think I sent them each like 50, 60 bucks or something. I was like, go get yourself a really nice dinner. Like, you guys like are so, like, I'm so thankful for this moment. Like, you saved my entire like business and everything like that. Cause I was like, without you guys, like, I would probably just be like trying to go like really hard on YouTube, and I'm monetized on 2 channels. So I was like, maybe I just went like really hard and did like daily videos, and like you know this, I kind of know what I'm doing on YouTube.
Yeah, for sure.
So I was like, I can just crank videos out.
Everything social media, I defer to you. Anytime I have a question, I'm like, Max, what do I do here? How does social media work?
And I've figured it out. So I like know kind of like I'm like internet. I'm chronically online. I make other videos of dumb internet stuff that's useless.
Yeah, and people don't realize how much it takes to build a channel and build a following.
Oh, I know.
So much work.
And that was like 10 years.
Yeah.
That my Instagram that got hacked was since I made that Instagram when Instagram.com or Instagram the app became an app.
Wow.
That's how long I've had it. So not only that, but that because I was the first one to change my SEO over. One of the things that devastated me the most was people, when they search Chicago videographer, I was one of the first that popped up.
Oh, yeah, you told me that's awesome.
So suddenly when mine got hacked, I wasn't even there. And then even at post-hack, I'm not the first anymore, or my stuff's not like so relevant. I'm working my way back up in the relevancy. Someone searched me and said I was the 3rd to come up. Someone said, so I'm slowly getting back there. But I was completely irrelevant for a while. And that was one of the biggest things that I was like, that was kind of why I was crying and like so upset over it. Because I was like, I'm gone off the like list of people they can choose from, and it just like it broke me down. Because also, and not even on a selfish way, but one of the things that really got to me was like a friend of mine had messaged me and said something along the lines of like, they're like, dude, I'm really devastated, not just because like they're like, I'm devastated for you, but like they're like, just so you know, like I actually go to your page and go through your followers, and that's how I've met like a lot of my friends. And I was like,
wow. That's wild.
I like almost broke down crying again, because I was like, people are making friends because of my followers.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. Like, it almost makes me want to cry right now. It was insane. It was like, I felt really bad in that moment. And this person was not the only person. There was someone else I've worked with before that said they came to Chicago and saw people I was following and connected with them, and have either worked with other people doing photos, or have worked with other people doing like music production, or have found studios because of my videos. And when all that was removed, I was like, wait, and I'm not trying to sound selfish, but like I realized I'm like, I am a resource for other people to like go to my page and like,
you're an influencer.
Yeah, like people are like influenced by my stuff. So I was like, what am I gonna do? Just like repost? And one of my buddies that does camera stuff was like, just repost the reels, like you'll be fine. Just like repost everything and you'll be good. And even then I was like, no. When they see it, when people are coming to my page, like if you're being totally honest, okay, I'm just gonna ask you this. If you're going through Instagram and you're like Chicago videographer, and you see a guy with 200 followers, or you see a guy with 6,500 followers, and you're willing to hire him, definitely this guy are you gonna hire?
Definitely the more followers.
Exactly. You're like, this guy knows what he's doing. He has more work. Like, and if you see a guy, even then, if you see a guy that's reposted all of his work, and you see like 1 and 2 views, or you see like whatever, like, do you think you're gonna trust this guy that looks like he's just like randomly putting this stuff up, or are you gonna trust the guy that like people are like, wow, great post, or like you're gonna trust that guy way more? And all my reviews I have on my Instagram,
reviews on Instagram.
I like, okay, so I've screenshotted my Google reviews and made a little tab. So you go to my page, there's a little circle you can click on, and it says reviews. And you can read my reviews. It's like my highlights. You know the little highlight bubble?
Yeah.
I have my reviews in a highlight bubble, so all that was gone and all this stuff. So it was like it's just everything I've ever worked towards was just gone. And in that moment, even to this day, I'm still like, I'm during this trip when we're driving to Kentucky, I'm gonna pick your brain more about website SEO, because I need to,
dude. Honestly,
I need to do that.
I'm not the greatest. I mean, okay, so I know a lot about SEO, but I am not good at implementing it myself because it's time consuming. Like, I have decent SEO on my website for like Northwest Indiana, but I just saw today that I'm ranking like 120 for Chicago videographer. So it's like not great.
And that's all to say. Look at where we're at now with 2025.
Yeah.
And he's 120 for Chicago videographer. That tells you this job, not that I don't want to say it because it sounds incorrect to say, but it like in a way became a commodity. It doesn't sound right saying that, but it like it's a more popularized thing now where like the pandemic happened and people were like I even remember getting questions during the pandemic, and I'm not trying to go too far, I was still want to stay here, but people during the pandemic were even like, "Oh, wait, what camera do you have?" And like, "Oh, wait, so like I kind of know this person that might need video, and like maybe I'll shoot their corporate videos and this and that, like, or I'll film their session." And there are more people like picking up cameras and watching tutorials, and so like all that turned into like now there's you and I send each other these people. I've sent to Corey, like there's like these gurus on here like how to raise your video business to be the blah blah blah, like, and it's turned into a whole thing of like not this like specialized thing. So now it's more of like how are you gonna stand out? And for me,
is more.
for me, it's like making content, making those venue things, and learning to be a smart marketing person.
Yeah, and so that like sort of being like putting out the right content is more important than just like putting out a bunch of content.
The content vomiting.
Yeah, and I kind of got into like the SEO thing within just the last couple of years because of COVID. And I know what to do to rank higher, but I just it's like the least fun part of the business to do. Like just to sit down and like record this video talking about, because I'll tell you what, I have about 2 years worth of gigs that I need to post on, because like for me, what always gets business for me is if I post a behind the scenes thing about a gig. So I will do what I'll do for this is I will first I'll gather my photos for the behind the scenes and I'll post those on Instagram, and that's like one post, and I just talk about the gig, what I did. And then I will record a video where I'm sitting at the computer and I talk about the gig, and it's basically exactly what I just wrote down underneath the photos gallery, but I'm just talking to the camera directly saying it. And then I also will, while I'm talking to the camera, I'm showing those photos. So now I have a photo gallery and a video showing the behind the scenes. And then I will go over to my website and I'll create a blog, and the blog will be the video.
Don't let out all your secrets.
No, I don't like to gatekeep anything.
I know, just kidding.
But so the Instagram that's only like a 1-minute reel, but on the blog I will write like a longer version of what I wrote on the Instagram
for keywords.
Yeah, for keywords. And then I will record a YouTube video that's 10 minutes long, and I'll go through everything that I just did on that short 1-minute video. I just do the same thing but in more detail. And so all I'm doing is talking about the gig, like how I got the gig, why I use certain equipment, and just stuff like that, just to include as many keywords as I can. And then I will I'll embed that YouTube video into my blog. And then I also put all the pictures in there. And then also on the pictures, you got to add alt text, which is for like people who are blind, so they can still visit your website and know
I need to do this.
Know what all this.
I need to do that.
Yeah. And so like I'll do all this stuff, and then there's like SEO stuff before I can post the blog. You have to like add different SEO things. There's like a whole checklist in Wix.
And this takes hours to do.
Dude, literally one post will take me 4 hours. And that's why
we don't stop working.
Dude, that's why I don't post, because like I want to do a post for every single gig, but I just never have the time because I'm just working nonstop. And so it's like, and so at the same time, I don't need to post if I'm working nonstop.
Yeah, you don't.
That's the catch-22. And it's like, then all of a sudden the work stops, and then
you're like, I need to post.
I'm like, I need to post. That it's kind of bad to say this, but if you see me posting on Instagram, it means I don't have work.
But it's what we all do though. If work slows down, we post more. We're like, look at this thing we did, or like, look at this, and it's like it's like you're advertising for yourself. Like it's honestly, it's no different. Like in a lot of respects, it's no different than like when you're driving on the highway and like you see a series of ads, and then suddenly, oh, the Restore ad's coming back again. It's like, well, Restore's business probably slowed down a little bit. That's probably why you're seeing their ad. Like, Or when you see like the, you know, a little shampoo ad or whatever ad it might be, you're like, okay, people are clearly not buying this. They're trying to like,
Yeah.
so it is like in all respect, it is a normal business practice. It just
Yeah.
seems funny because of
Yeah.
the nature of our business. But it's
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's like, you know, we don't stop working, and these are the things that like we're doing behind closed doors.
I'm really good at posting stories because stories are literally, I just say, look at what I'm doing today and then post. But
You do this, you're like, you show me the setup, and then you're like,
well, I have to show because I want to zoom in on every camera, because if I don't, people are like, what camera is that? You know what I mean? Like, I get so many questions if I don't like zoom in on every piece of equipment that I'm using. And so like, and then I want to show the audience that yes, it is indeed me. I'm not just like posting somebody else's videos. That's why I flip it around and show myself. But, yeah, I'm good at doing that because it's easy. And, that way, like, it's really just like other videographers that like those those
I
stories.
don't like them. I'm a story.
Well, yeah, you like all my stories. I try to like as many of yours as I can, but I'm not as good at liking everybody's stories. You're really good at it. But
I'm a story liker. If there's someone that's still made to this point in the podcast or is listening or seen part of it, like someone that's watching this, I can almost promise you is like a story liker of mine. I can almost promise, and that said person's probably gonna come and be like, "That's me."
Yeah. But so let's get back to, um, so back when I got laid off from IT, you know, I had been, even though I was working in Chicago, I was on nights and weekends doing weddings basically. Um, and so like, and I was doing weddings like every weekend. So I was I was basically like editing on the train during the week, sometimes editing at work if I could get away with it.
Yeah.
And basically I ended up getting after I got laid off, I waited. I mean, I was applying to jobs, but then once my employment ran out, or unemployment, unemployment benefits, once that ran out, then I was like, okay, now you got to really get serious about applying for stuff, not just like applying randomly on LinkedIn. And that's when I was like, I'm going to this temp agency, and because they're always hiring, they'll take anybody. And so, and I knew that's how I had gotten hired at at the company originally where I was in IT. That was because I went through this temp agency. So I went back to that temp agency, and they found me this job over at Starcom.
Oh yeah, that's right. You do work for Starcom.
Starcom was part of Publicis Media, which was at the time the largest media company in the world. I mean, they're still probably number 2, but I don't know if they're number 1 anymore.
Is it Publicis?
Publicis, yeah.
I think my mom works for them.
For real?
Yeah, I think.
What?
Or like works under them at least, or
No way.
in that same branch.
That's awesome. That's wild.
They're like a branch of her company that she works
Well,
for. Yeah.
yeah. Well, I worked at Starcom. Isn't your mom like high up in the company?
Yeah.
And you don't know what it's called?
I'm so bad at like.
Yeah.
I'm so bad. I know she's.
I could have filmed her because at Starcom I did the same thing.
She's been with them the last like maybe 10, maybe more.
Then yeah, she would have been there when I was there. But they own like Digitas and Leo Burnett.
Well, she works for a company called Epsilon that works with Publicis.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I probably didn't know her then, or I just worked at Starcom, but I did the same thing that I did at Avant. I was like, hey, I'm a videographer. Let's film some things.
Yeah.
They did like this food. Every year they have this food thing, which you saw that video that I just did recently for Levenfeld Pearlstein.
Oh yeah.
That was the because they had won the food bank.
Yeah,
food drive, whatever. Yeah, this is where people they donate. Everybody in the company donates to feed hungry families. And so at Starcom, we were doing a video for that food drive, and they let me film it. And then they started having me film these interviews with like the CFO and the CEO and all these, big time people at the company. And that gave me enough of a reel, because even when I was at the other company, they partnered with Regions Bank, and I did a commercial partnering with Regions Bank and stuff like that. So I had like all these like good corporate videos as my reel. And then in 2018, I jumped off the ledge finally, and I said, you know what, I'm just going to do video full time because I had, after working literally 80 hours a week for 10 years, I was like,
Pretty cooked.
yeah, I was like, you know what, like I think I got enough clientele, I can like make it work, and
Yeah.
so I went full time for myself. And remember what I told you about that dude who had popped his head in for just a second while we were filming. His
Yes,
name's
in Andrew.
Andrew.
I
Yeah.
remember this.
So as soon as I announced on Facebook that I was going full time with my business, Andrew hits me up out of the blue. Hadn't talked to
Guy who
him.
peeked his head in the door.
Yeah, hadn't talked to him in like 4 years or something. And he's like, hey man, I heard that you're going full time. Do you want to take over for me at this PR firm that I've been working with? Like, basically, he got a job at Victory Records doing music videos full time.
Oh.
And so he didn't have time to do these corporate videos anymore. And so that's how I got in with the PR firm.
So I never knew
Exclusive
that.
PR. Shout out to
That's
Exclusive
sick.
PR. Yeah. And so
I always wondered how that worked out because I was like,
yeah.
he's not local to Chicago.
Yeah.
So I was like, wait,
Well, it's because I worked downtown for 5 years.
it's because of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like that's why I'm saying like for anybody getting into this business, people always ask me like, where should I start? I can't get a job doing anything. And I tell them, just get a job doing anything. Literally, it doesn't matter. You're gonna make connections. So like
Know
go
somebody.
go to the city and get a job in the city. You'll make connections.
Or even if you don't get a job, just like go places and socialize,
Yeah.
talk to people.
Yeah, at least do that. But like for me, like I needed money too.
Yeah.
And so
if you don't have a job,
yeah, so I was like, I just like worked in a call center and worked. I don't know how I got into marketing. That was like luck, but I actually learned a lot about marketing by working there, which I really enjoyed. But
yeah, that's the best way in. You just gotta
yeah,
use that job to your advantage to
yeah,
meet people.
yeah, and so because I was on the billing team for Lego's online advertising. Well, I was like the only guy that did the billing for Lego's online advertising, and uh, it was a mess. I was just spreadsheets that I had to do, but they had screwed up the CPMs, so
Oh wow.
I had to like basically tell Facebook and YouTube and all the TikTok and I don't know if TikTok was a thing, but Instagram, all the big companies where ads are run. I did tell him, "Hey, you actually owe us $30,000." Like every single one of them owed us $30,000.
Oh my
And so
God.
like they would take us out on these fancy dinners and stuff and wine and dine us, and then they'd be like, "Hey, can we like work out our deal?" And I'm like, dude, I'm the lowest person in the company. Like, no, I can't change how much you owe us. Like this is what it is. But once we wrapped up the Lego account, I was like, okay, time to move on. So uh
You did your own
but
thing.
then this gets us to the pandemic, and I don't know about you, but for me, the pandemic was like destroyed my business because I had the ball rolling in 2018, 2019. I was doing awesome. 2019 was my best year ever, and then 2020, I had like an awesome first quarter, like amazing first
I do
quarter,
too. Yeah.
and then because I think I literally made like $30,000 in the first quarter of 2020.
Oh my God, you're
And
even
then
better than me.
nothing for the rest of the year. Nothing. Not
Yeah.
one gig for the rest of the year. And then 2021 comes around. Still dead. Can't figure out why.
Oh yeah, I remember this. I
Yeah. And
remember.
that's when I looked into my website. I'm like, dude, all these inquiries were going to the fuck. Like, I wasn't getting anything. There were none. They were going to a non-existent email. And so that's when because like I had literally in
Dude, I feel physical pain
in
right now.
2021, remember I went and got a job at Amazon. At the end of 2021, I went and got a job at Amazon because I was still like very slow with my work. And I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like this is like I need to make money. And so it just so happened right after that that I get this gig to do a live stream for Levenfeld Perlstein.
Oh my
And that was
God.
through that Chicago speakeasy group.
Oh yeah, I know
The
Chicago.
photographers group.
Yeah.
And someone had just posted like, hey, we need live streaming. Does anybody offer it? And that's when it clicked for me. I was like, live streaming is something that everybody wants now because of the pandemic.
Live stream gigs.
Yeah, because of the pandemic, everybody wants live streaming. And so that saved my business because back in 2015 or 2014, me and Art were live streaming like every night playing Nintendo.
Oh yeah, I was streaming on Twitch myself during lockdown.
So I was like, dude, I know how to live stream. I can do this. And so that's when the A10 Mini came out too. I pre-ordered the original A10 Mini because
that was so smart of you to do.
It was so cool. And yeah, like I think at the time nobody else had an A10 Mini in 2020.
People didn't really have stream signups like that.
Yeah, so like I kind of in 2020 we did like a lot of little just playing around music live streams and stuff. And so anyways, then their videographer was sick with COVID and they were like, "Can you film some interviews?" We were trying to get these interviews after this gig. And I was like, "Yeah, I can film some interviews. I don't have any lights." And they're like, "We can go grab lights from the office." I was like, "Oh, okay." And so they brought their lights and I made it look so good. Like I had the city in the background and stuff. We were on the rooftop filming.
Oh,
and
sick.
they were like, "Oh my God, this is so much better than our videographer. Like you're our new videographer."
Oh.
And I was like, "What about the other guy?" And she was like, "Oh, that's the CEO's nephew. And the CEO just stepped down. So you're our new videographer." I was like, "Yes." And and that alone saved my business.
Funny you even asked about the other guy. Like you weren't just like, yeah, you're like,
when
I was the other guy.
I was this close to just selling all my gear because I thought it was over. I thought my business was done. I thought COVID. Like I said,
that was your Instagram moment for me.
Yeah, like I said, I wouldn't got a job at Amazon, and had I not gotten that live stream gig, I would have sold all my gear.
Didn't you work at Amazon for a little bit right then, and then you hurt yourself?
Yeah, well, after 2 days at Amazon, I realized I had a broken toe from before. I didn't like I had kicked a ladder by accident. Like I was just walking past it and my barefoot, my toe clipped the ladder. And I didn't know that it was broken because I wasn't working. And so like after 2 days at Amazon, my foot like swelled up like so big I couldn't even get in my shoe. And so I had to quit the Amazon job. And
oh my God,
literally the next day I got the live streaming gig. So it was like it was meant to be, I guess.
I think I might have in that time span passed you like at least like 2 or 3 live stream gigs that I would get. People were asking me to live stream.
Yeah.
And I didn't have the capability to like, and you even brought me on to I think a couple of your live stream gigs.
Yeah, with Levenfeld Prostein.
Yeah, because
they wanted 2 live streams simultaneously. And then we had to troubleshoot, like you last minute had a firewall that was like blocking stuff. And I was like, dude, see, this is why I don't recommend getting into live streaming unless you're really good at troubleshooting IT issues. And I just was good at that because I was in IT. Like I literally that helped me with being able to troubleshoot network issues and shit like that. And 2022 was I literally more than doubled my best year ever in 2022. Like from anything prior to
a bunch of live streams and
and that was also the first year that I worked for another company for weddings. I worked for Red Barn Studios.
You finally let your stubbornness go.
Yeah, because I was like, I was this close to giving up on the whole dream altogether. And then I was like, once Levenfeld Pearlstein started hiring me, I was like, dude, maybe I can make this work. I'm going to take anything I can get. And I don't know how they found me actually, because they found me, Red Barn Studios, and they were like, do you want to film for us? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. And that year,
was it Speakeasy maybe?
Maybe, yeah, I think so. But that year I filmed, let me think, how many was it? It was 33 weddings.
That's crazy. Remember that?
And I remember because it was an insane amount. It was 33 weddings and 70 corporate gigs. So I did 103 gigs that year. And a lot of it I was editing too. Like I wasn't editing all the weddings, but if I was editing the weddings, I couldn't have done it. But
mind you, these gigs are all 8 hours plus.
Oh yeah, the wedding gigs are 12 hours,
which sounds insane.
Plus driving like 3 hours each way. Some of those like I would do 3 weddings back to back, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So some of them like I'd get home, barely have enough time to offload footage and get like 4 hours of sleep and then go back. But
Yep.
and charge batteries. But
And that's why I say that because like I think people might hear me say 8 hours, like, dude, that's a normal work shift for people. What are you talking about? But it's like exactly
Dude,
my point is what you're saying. You have
some
to
of those
offload
they
all
always
that and drive back.
they always wanted like 12 hours for it too. So I would drive, and they kept giving me these weddings out in the western suburbs. So I would drive 3 hours, shoot 12 hours, drive 3 more hours. How many is that? Like 18 hours already?
Yeah.
And then I'd have to offload footage for another 2-3 hours. And because I do multicam, so I do like 6 cameras, 7 cameras for weddings now. I just did a wedding last in February that I did 7 cameras, which was the most I had ever done.
Yeah, I think that's the thing too. You and I are like known for having a bunch of different cameras. You definitely have more than I do, but you and I, that's the thing. Like people know both of us for having like
10 professional cameras.
We have multiple cameras. I think that's the thing that also keeps a lot of people coming to us.
Yeah,
too.
and that's why like even in Northwest Indiana, like I'm one of the few people that do the music shows because nobody else has that many cameras.
Yeah.
Literally, like
I don't. Me and maybe.
Yeah, you're the only other guy that I know that does all these multicam shows and stuff.
I've had to let my own stubbornness go too in that process because for a while I was like, it's only me. I'll set up a drum cam, I'll set up a wide shot, and I'll be the other camera. It's me only.
Yeah.
And I remember people were starting to get a little bit aggravated with me after a while.
Because they wanted more cameras?
Well, not the band, not the client, but like friends and people that also shot video because like they saw what I was doing and they're like, that looks cool. I want to be a part of it. But I was being stubborn, like, this is my thing,
Yeah.
But then they were like, no, like, we'll be another camera op for you. So I was like, okay. Is the lens here?
It might be because it said 7:45. Let me think.
The lens might be here. I think his lens arrived.
Yes.
It's here. Let's go.
Hello.
Oh my gosh, he caught the person needing the signature. Last time he had a signature thing, the person knocked and then dropped it and ran real quickly. But he has the good package deliverer this time. Let's go. We're doing
That's the only reason.
What's up, YouTube? Today we're gonna be doing an unboxing of the camera lens. Yes, it is 2013 all over again. Oh, and I'm definitely gonna buy this lens because I'm watching him do an unboxing.
This is like literally why we have such a long podcast is because I've been waiting for this lens. So let's just do the unboxing here.
Hey, can I open it?
Yeah,
I want to open. I like
it. Sure.
With this kind of caution tape, I love breaking it. I don't know why. It has this kind of good caution. I don't know why. There's like some kind of enjoyment.
All right. Max likes opening boxes. Yeah, let's just see what we got here.
I see. You can do it. Stroke, yeah.
Like Christmas.
Whoa.
Yeah. So this is a dedicated.
This means we're gonna wrap up the podcast soon because the lens is going. Here, we need to eat dinner. I'm hungry.
Yeah, dude, I was hungry when you got here. Man, they really taped this up.
I love taking tape up. No, I'm just kidding. It's the worst part of the bag. I use keys, so I don't own keys anymore. Everything's a card now for me. It's
really? You don't have keys?
I don't have keys.
Even for your house?
No, I have a code for my house.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
And I'm not telling other people.
Tell the internet your code.
So here's where all my camera gear is stored.
I just told Max that earlier. Oh man, look at that beauty.
Oh my god.
That is that beauty right there.
Is this a brand new lens or is it used? Brand new, right?
It's used.
Oh, it's used?
Yeah.
Where'd you get it from? What site?
eBay. There's my
Bro.
ridiculous lens hood.
Let me.
It's actually really light for what it is.
Can I hold it?
Yeah. Let me see. How's this? Huh.
Oh, wait. Kind of has the new feeling to it.
Yeah, it's in really good condition.
There's a lock on it. Wow.
That's a prime.
Good price for it too.
Yes, $17.75.
Are you using it on our shoot?
No, let me see.
You're not. Oh, you just want to not miss the package.
Yeah, I just didn't
Look at
want.
the lens put on that baby.
So this one in particular.
So this is the unboxing of the what brand is
it?
it?
Looks like a 70 to 200 or something,
What
but
brand is this?
Sigma.
This is the unboxing of the Sigma 17
Sigma 500 mil
500 mil
f5.6.
f5.6. Boys, girls, and MBs, I present to you George's lens.
Yeah, sick. So this is like a dedicated wildlife lens for me. If you didn't know, Turtle Time TV is my wildlife channel, and
He's gonna be sniping some birds.
yeah,
The birds are George is investing on behalf of birds. Bird socialist.
I really enjoy filming or taking pictures of birds. It's my sort of.
Ew, the fact that I had the Starbucks logo out the entire time.
But yeah, that's my guilty pleasure is taking pictures of birds, and it's Turtle Time TV if you want to check it out.
Turtle Time TV, you'll see everything except for turtles. You'll see bird. I changed it to Bird Time TV.
Bird Time TV.
Bird Time TV. Oh yeah.
So what was I talking about?
The birds.
Before the lens.
So we were yapping on about
Yeah, so 2022 I worked every single day, literally in 2022 I worked from the time I woke up till the time I went to sleep every day for like from January 1st until like December 21st.
But it's okay, here's the thing. The way you're presenting it is like I think you need to like put this with it. Like you and I both I think have the same enjoyment for working. Like we like going to shoots, like it's fun for us. Do we get a little tired sometimes? Yeah, of course. Like we're like, but like I think the thing that's like that you and I but like the thing that we like bond over is like we enjoy like we have actual like true real enjoyment over this. We're not like, oh, we have a gig tomorrow and the next day we're kind of like but it's as you get older, like it definitely like wears on you
for
more
sure.
and more.
As you get older, it wears on you more, and also just like you get burnt out.
You get burnt out.
Anybody will get burnt out regardless of age, but when you're older, like I'm 36 now. Well, at the 2022, I guess I was like 34. Or
you were 36 in 2022?
33.
You stopped at 32.
You 25 now, so 33. Yeah,
you stopped aging at 32.
Yeah. But no, but dude, that it almost killed me doing that because I'm not joking that I worked from the time I got up till the time I went to bed. I didn't take any weekends off. I didn't take a single day off, and I literally didn't take like an evening off. Like I didn't have time to. I didn't talk to any friends. That's when I moved into my apartment too. Was the same year, so it was like the most stressful like time of my life for sure. Like because I ended up having to move 3 times basically over the summer while I was so busy I didn't have time to.
And you're a night owl.
Yeah. But I literally like I'm not joking when I say like I would roll out of bed to the computer and I would sit there until like it would be from like 8 a.m. until like 2 a.m. and then I'd go to sleep for a couple hours and do it all over again. And like it was so much so many gigs back to back that I screwed up my back. My back at the end of 2022, my back was so screwed up. Like I again thought I was gonna have to stop shooting. I was like, dude, if it's not like one thing, it's another. And I had like a disc out of place or something. And then I was on a shoot for Petting House in Alabama. And I bring those 100-pound cases, 2 cases that are 100 pounds each. And
Georgia's
I was doing some stretches in the hotel room, and all of a sudden I felt a pop in my back, and the pain went away. It was a good pop. I fixed it. Whatever was out of place, I fixed it, and the pain went away, and I was good after that. But like prior to that, there was like a shoot where I was like getting ready to leave, and I bent down to pick up my gear, and it just was a shooting pain in my back. I couldn't stand up. Like, I don't know how I even got back to the truck. It was in Chicago.
You crawled on your feet,
Dude,
on your hands and feet to
it
the
was
truck.
I like literally had to like like keep my back exactly like straight
Waddle to the
and waddle to the truck, dude. It was so bad. Like, I literally was scared I was gonna have to stop again. But once I fixed it, I was good. And then I just kind of was like, okay, in 23 and 24, I need to like be more intentional about what gigs I'm taking.
Mhm.
And I raised my prices. I basically doubled my prices in 23
Mhm.
from what it was
Yeah,
before.
we did.
I literally doubled.
I remember that.
Literally doubled them. And then I think in 24 I doubled them again or something. It was like like I lost a lot of clients by doing that, but
Mhm.
I gained a couple of big clients.
Mhm.
And that's kind of like where I'm at now, is like I have a few big clients that got the budgets, they want me. Like, they want the best. So
Mhm.
they film with me. But that sounded kind of, I'm bragging too much now.
No.
But
But hang on,
they
I'll
want
even back
good
you up on that.
they want good work for like interviews specifically. That's what all my corporate people, they want good interviews, and it's like so hard. Every time they try to use somebody else, because they've tried using other people, they always come back to me. They're like, I'm sorry for cheating on you. Like, please fix this. And they'll have me fix the edit and stuff. And
Another thing that
you're like, we're gonna fly you out next time. Like,
it's
like for real.
another thing that you and I have, and like I was pointing to you specifically for this, is that like you're not just like, oh, I have a camera and like I might have a mic. Like, no, you have like good recorders, like 32-bit float recorders, and not just like one or like
Yeah.
the second device that might kind of work. Like,
I
no,
got
you
backup
have like
stuff.
backups on backups. You have like 32-bit like raw recorders.
Yeah.
You have like a bunch of different
If it's a
4K
if it's a
cameras,
three
like,
camera shoot, I'm bringing at least 5
and you're bringing
cameras,
lighting. Like, the thing that separates you is like the fact that like people I've had this same sentiment shared to me too with other stuff in the past, is like we're able, like, you and I are psycho enough to bring like lights,
Yeah.
camera, and that, whereas like other people will come in and they'll be
Yeah.
like, I got my Sony A7S III,
Yeah.
like, let's shoot this interview, let's just quick shoot and go. And it's like people see that and then they look at something like what you're doing and they're like, okay, this guy has multiple cameras. He also has a thing that makes the cameras like move. So he's got like moving cameras and he's got other cameras. Like, you've got all these different things that you sub, and you have a ton of lights, and that you're not just putting lights is another
Yeah.
thing.
I
You
know where I'm
actually have a
thinking
strategic
about,
plan,
like, yeah.
and people see that when you're working, and they're like, he's not just like Timothy that once has a camera and has maybe like one light, like,
Yeah.
or a Home Depot light. Like, he's actually got like camera lights that he actually knows what he's doing,
Mhm.
and he's not just bringing like the $60 newer light on Amazon. Like, he's bringing like professional film lighting that's
Mhm.
just like, I bet you your cheapest light is probably like a couple, like 1,000 or something like that. Like,
Yeah. Well, those Godox SL
or 600,
those
7,
SL60
yeah.
lights are cheap. This one is actually cheap.
Mhm.
Like, I think I got that one for like $100. But most of my lights, yeah, they're like 750 or
758.
up.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's like they see that kind of thing, good gear, really nice cameras, like all these
Yeah.
different things, and they're like,
The mics that I
willing to
use,
pay.
the mics that I typically use for my corporate podcasts, are like $1,000 each.
Yeah.
I use the Sennheiser 416s, and
So where do you store those when you're not home?
in the studio. Don't you worry about that. But yeah, and like, and not to just toot my horn, let's toot Max's horn. He's like the best I know for like show videos, like
Yeah.
music type shows. And like, even to this day, I ask you about like,
Filming them.
how'd you film this? How'd you film that? Like, how'd you get this angle and stuff? Like, what lenses are you using? Like, cause I didn't film shows until after the pandemic. I didn't film music shows until after the pandemic.
Yeah.
It took me a long time to really get into it because I was so stubborn. I was like, man, they don't have the budgets. But now
That Beach Bunny thing probably had to make you feel a certain way about it
yeah,
too.
for sure. Well, once you got me in on like the big shows, I was like, dude, this is so fun. And that now, like, literally, I give musicians half of my rate that I charge corporate people,
Yeah.
just because I enjoy it so much, and I know that they don't have like
$1 billion.
yeah, they're not
done.
rich generally.
Yeah.
Musicians are generally on the lower end of the pricing budget.
Unless you get like an artist that has like a label that's backing them that has like a higher budget, or like maybe a big name artist that is like is playing weekly at like venues that's selling out venues and is able to like allocate the budget. Like I'm not saying every artist with that kind of following has the money.
Yeah.
That's not true.
Yeah.
But every here and there you'll find an artist that does actually allocate their money specifically aside for video. And like you can usually find a good price that's like your budget plus there's like kind of the median sort of rate.
Yeah.
And even then you can find artists that can meet your rate exactly. And I'm sure,
Yep.
you know, you've landed on it, you've had people, you know, and you've learned through either me or through doing it on your own that like, yeah, there are people that can pay. And some, not all musicians just do music full time. There's a lot of them,
Yeah.
but there's also, I'm friends with plenty of musicians also that like their daytime job might be like
Yeah.
IT or might be
Or
in marketing.
maybe they're like in coding or something and they
Coding.
actually make a lot of money.
Yeah, and then they do music on the side and they're
Yeah.
making, and then they have the extra money to be like, oh yeah, here's
Yeah.
for like a music video or whatever.
Yeah. But I find like the most the people who want the music videos the most are using it to land gigs. Like they just want those promo videos.
Yep,
Because
that's what they want.
because that
Yep.
every venue wants to see how you perform live, and so if you have a promo video,
In your EPK and stuff.
yeah,
Yeah,
you
or
showing
online.
showing that. If you have nothing, like I just last week was filming a band, and they were like, yeah, we kept getting these inquiries for like these corporate gigs, and every single one of them wanted to see a video, and we didn't have any videos. So we're like, okay, well, it's time to invest a little money into this because
I hear that.
we're gonna
It's
make a
like,
bunch of money back. So
I feel like I have that sentence like glued in the back of my brain. Like almost every artist. I just filmed a guy, his whole band in his basement studio
yeah,
like last week for that same reason. And he has a really good sound. He's like, yeah, they want to hire us, but he's like, they ask for a video, we have nothing to send them.
yeah,
Like, and I've made so many people's first videos, and I guarantee you, this. I'm not trying to sound cocky, but like this very thing that you and I are talking about, I think is the reason why like other artists, like lo and behold, we're helping out these artists being able to get like another gig or play a wedding. And this isn't just like a me to you thing. This is like I've actually had artists or I've been at venues where people are like people in the venue will be like, "Oh, did you make that video for this artist?" And they're like, "Yeah, yeah, we saw that." And like we had them
nice,
come play at our venue, or like I've heard or even the artists have told me themselves like because of your video, we've been able to like play at like maybe Talia Hall now because before like we had nothing to show for and
nice,
they saw our video or vice versa. Like I've heard stuff like that.
yeah.
And it's not me being like, "Oh, look at me, I'm special,
Yeah,
my video." That's just what it is.
I've had recently, I was doing a bunch of those like um plays and like those dinner and live music type stuff.
Yeah.
And recently Sharbria was on my podcast.
Oh yeah.
The one where I called you out.
You did,
But,
yeah.
So on that
Call me out in this podcast, guys.
So Sharbria
Cancel 'em.
Sharbria told me, she's like, yeah, you don't actually know this, but your work has landed me a bunch more work.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's awesome. Like I would like I love it when people tell me that. And they don't tell me very often. Sometimes it'll be years later and they're like,
Yup.
oh yeah, remember that gig that you did for me? That landed so much more work for me just from that one thing. I'm like, wow, that's awesome. Like I wish you had told me before because like it's so cool to hear that.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll send a video and get no feedback. And you're like, did I do good or not?
And speaking
The
of that,
feedback is important for us. We have feelings. We're like we're artists at the end of the day, and we're like really just trying to like make you happy. Like that's what we want to do. So
speaking of
please
that,
please give us feedback.
speaking of that, I won't call out the exact shoot that it was because it's like one of the like 3 times I've done a shoot like this. But this person who hires me to like shoot a bunch of her friends' videos, hired me to shoot this video for a friend, and it was like I had to. I'm not even joking you. I think I made her like 75 reels out of all the stuff we shot.
Wow.
I think cut up like 2 or 3 longer videos. It was just like a ton of editing and like a ton of shooting of like I enjoyed it. And then I remember she said like X thing releases on X day. So I was like, okay. And then came X day, which the video was supposed to release and didn't come out. My video, and I was like, I literally have it like in my phone, like her video comes out on this day. And I remember I didn't see it in our social media, and like my heart sunk, and I was like, "Oh my god, I screwed up." And
Yeah.
it just like it sunk in with me, and it was funny because like I gave her like a ton of advice like on the shoot with like social media and everything, and I was like feeling really bad. I was like, "Uh oh, maybe like she just didn't like my video, and like she just whatever." I think, and then so I messaged her. I was like, "Hey, if there's anything then in the video like you need adjusted or edited and blah blah blah, like." Tell me right now. I'm more than happy. Like, if anything, just if you have any critiques, like, tell me whatever. You know what she said back to me? She goes, "No, I love your videos.
Oh,
They're the
wow.
best thing ever." She's like, "I'm gonna use them. I just had to hire like a social media person, and I'm like going through the ringer figuring out like social media,
Yeah.
how to like best present these." And so I was like,
Maybe that's a service you should offer, because
"Geez."
now you know so much about social media. You could almost have that as
I always
another
say this.
service.
I lean on like the like people are gonna kill me for saying this, but I lean on like the more like socialistic aspect of that, where like I something in my brain still doesn't feel right. Like I met up with an artist actually like 4 or 5 days ago, who came out to my town and we just had coffee and I gave him a ton of social media advice for free and just was like,
Yeah.
he was like, no,
I
like
do that all the time.
he was like, I want to pay
I
you
give a bunch of marketing advice all the time.
for free because
Yeah.
these people like he told me very openly, he's like, look, I want to pay you, like I actually want to pay you, and I was like, no, I'm not letting you pay me. Like I if something feels in my mind still like very predatory about giving social media advice, I don't know if that's the right word, but it feels wrong to give social media advice in a way of like I don't like it feels like I shouldn't take their money for my words because
Yeah.
like the stuff that social media advice nowadays, like you can watch one guy say something and that can be wrong. You watch another guy
Yeah.
or a girl
I
or
feel you on that. It's like, I feel like nobody really knows how social media
nobody
works.
knows,
It's
and
always changing.
it's all
Yeah.
BS. Like, you can tell someone, do this. Go on social media, go on TikTok right now, post a 15-second video of you doing a trend to do this. You can hear that and take that advice and get 1 view.
Yeah.
But you can also go on social media and just be like, and that'll get like 1 million views. So it's
Yeah.
like, okay, which thing, like, what works? And now with reels and all that, you don't know what works. There's like, there was rough. You and I were talking about this very late last night. We don't need to get into it. It's not worth breaching into, but like, just there's different things we know that can, like, kinda do well. There's, like, concepts we know that will do well, which is why I don't feel comfortable making someone pay for my words. I'm like, "Look, we're getting coffee. 30 minutes, 45 minutes, we're getting coffee. We're having a good person to person maybe I even get to know you better and, like, hear about what you're doing." And, like, by the time I got done with this conversation with this said artist, he walked away taking the things I said and, like, formulated his own idea, and I was like, "Cool, I'm gonna execute this idea." And I was like, perfect. That's all I needed from this.
Yeah.
You're good. I was like, if any other questions, you can text me or we can meet back up. I don't care. And this isn't like me opening the invite to like everybody. It's like I am a busy person,
Yeah.
but I have it in me to like take the time out of my day if I'm
Dude,
free.
you're like the busiest person I know.
You're the busiest person.
Dude, every time I talk to you, you're like, "Oh, I'm on my way to another show," and like, I don't even know how you go and watch shows in between filming shows sometimes. And I'm like, "What are you doing, dude? You're crazy."
I try to get in my like even that's like I try to get in my split of like hanging out with friends and socializing. I remember I had like a couple friends pass away like over the last like 3 years or so. And it kind of like set me back from socializing for a while and I kind of just like stayed in a lot and just like was like trying to recuperate and all that. But at finally like last year, 2024, midway through that year and going into this year, I was like, holy crap, I lost like the social part of my life. So I needed to
Yeah.
like socialize again. And now I'm back to that. I'm
That's nice.
like
Yeah.
even the last few days I've been socializing and working and just
Yeah.
like go, gotta go. And I feel like it's important though. It's like
It is. Yeah.
I take those moments like unless I'm just hanging out with one person, if I'm hanging out with like a group of friends, like even when you had people over for your housewarming, there were people that I met that like even that guy at the recording studio
Mm-hmm.
that I was talking to him, he's like, "Oh yeah, you make these videos, let's come make a video at my place." Like
Yeah.
I use like group social events to
Yeah.
tell people about like what I do. And some people like can misconstrue this now where they're like I've seen it happen before where like even I'll be at an event or somewhere and some guy with a camera will just like come running up to me and be like, bro, if you need me to shoot video for you. And like, I'm like, dog,
Yeah.
here's my, I'm carrying a camera box
Yeah.
in right now.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I do shoot videos and like some people approach that social opportunity to like really be like, me, I shoot videos. But for me, I'm like, if I'm socializing with people, I'm gonna like make sure you know like who I am and what I do, and then somewhere along the way, I'll be like, I do freelance video and blah. I'm not gonna be like me. That's your video. Please use me.
I feel like I was like that when I first started. Like, just run up to anybody who has a camera and be like, "Hey, man, you need some help?"
I'm just like it's great, it's good and dandy, but
yeah, I feel like I've gotten very probably because I live out here in Wanata now, but I stay home more than I go out now. Like,
that's hey, you know what?
there's a and it's mainly because I'm just tired.
You're tired. I was gonna say you work hard.
Yeah, I just work so much that I'm like, and I don't sleep very well. I never have. So, like, I've literally had sleeping issues my whole life.
Yeah.
Like sleep apnea and shit like that. So it was like, uh, I don't know. Sometimes I just don't want to leave the house. And on top of it, as I'm getting older, I hate driving at night because my eyes.
They'll probably do it tonight.
Yeah, but on the highway it's not so bad. But I don't mind it on the highway. But like the smaller roads where you're like right next to them, like they're coming towards you, and those lights just blinding, and I'm like, dude. But I have like perfect 20/20 vision, or like 20/15. Like I've always had eagle eyes, you know.
Yeah.
But at night, dude, in particular, it's just like the lights have gotten brighter and stuff. So I just don't even like going out anymore. I don't.
Well, also on top of that, I've been seeing the sentiment shared online a lot lately. Is like people are saying, and like this is probably a good way to like close up the episode too. Is like a lot of people are saying it's like getting pricey, and it is. They're right.
That too,
It's getting pricey. Like even when I go to shows with friends, like even as someone that doesn't drink alcohol, I even say this like. By the time you leave your house, I'm lucky enough that I drive like an electric car, so I'm kind of good on the gas front. But for most people that don't have an electric car, they're not only paying for gas when they go out, they're also paying for food when they go out, and food's not exactly cheap.
Yeah.
Unless you're just like getting a granola bar or whatever the hell. But like food, okay, there's like what, 25 bucks right there. The show ticket was probably anywhere, if you're going to like a smaller show, 35 or maybe like 25 to 50 to I don't know, 45 bucks, somewhere in that realm. Maybe even sometimes 10 or 15 if it's a small enough show. So like there's, let's just say on 35 bucks to go to the median price. So there's 35, 25 plus your gas. Like you're like breaching up on like getting near 100 just to like leave, to leave your house. Like
you see those memes, outside costs $100.
So people were like, what's the point of going out? Like it became infinitely, during COVID, I was a full extrovert pre-COVID. Now I'm introvert, extrovert, where it's like if someone's like, I want to spend some time inside, I'm like, cool. It's, it's hang out inside. But it's like if I want to, I feel like I need that mental stimulation now.
Yeah. I've been an introvert my whole life, but as I got older and more into business, like probably around 30, I started. It was once I went into business full time for myself, which was when I was 29. Wow. How old am I? 36? I've been in business for 7 years now. Full time 7 years. But actually filming like 15, 20 years. But
it does sound funny saying that. Sometimes you say it and people are like, wait, and you're like, oh no, I've been filming.
Yeah. I mean, I've been filming professionally for 15 years.
I think I
was 20. I think I was 21 the first time I got paid.
I think I've been filming for like 14 or 15 years now, and like business is going on to 11, I think.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I kind of wish I had gotten into it full time earlier, but at the same time, it was smart for me to like still work, and I basically just, worked 80 hours a week, and it was like I did both at the same time,
Yeah.
But
hey, we're both.
Yeah. I think Sean's emailing. Did Sean email us again? Is that what that was?
Yeah. Did he? No, I was checking.
Well, he emailed earlier, so I want to respond to that. But.
Well, anyway, I think we should wrap it up here and get on the road.
If you guys need a videographer, reach out to us.
There are 2 videographers on a podcast.
For music, anything in Chicago, definitely reach out to Max. I'm more on the corporate side in Chicago.
George corporate.
And then I also
interviews.
I do music too, but I'm mostly Northwest Indiana for music. But
we don't fight each other for business.
I kind of specialize in podcasts. We don't fight each other for business. That's something that we didn't touch on. Maybe next time. But like we work together. Like we bounce. Like if I got a gig like this one right now, that I'm like, hey, I need a videographer. Max, you're coming.
Yeah.
And like same thing, like if he needs an extra video guy, he reaches out to me. But a lot of times like the budgets aren't there for music.
Yeah.
So that's why I typically don't come out. I just don't want to go all the way to
But
Chicago.
there's stuff you have. There's lots. There's lots.
Yeah, that's
you
true.
have.
Just
There's been, like,
because it's fun. But you know, it's like an hour for me to get to downtown, and I just like I don't really go to Chicago for less than
too many things.
less than I have a certain threshold that
Threshold.
oh my
Lakeshore.
now, but
We're driving to Kentucky and gonna go shoot a corporate gig, and
yeah.
freaking happy to have me on.
And
the
go
pod.
follow Turtle Time TV if you want to see
Turtle Time TV.
if you want to see this lens.
My
bird pics.
business is at Max Williams Video on Instagram or maxwilliams1.com. George suggests I change that to Max Williams Video. I'm gonna have him explain that to me on the car ride to Kentucky.
Yeah.
But with that being said, adios, boys, girls, and MBs. Peace out.
Go to lakeshorevideo.com. Max Williams Video on the other stuff. All right, later guys. I got that from Peter McKinnon where he goes